The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is All Things Elite. Welcome back to All Things Elite. Load up the pod, man, it's on when we speak. Rich right here, let me warm it up for Austin and Floyd. Couldn't be no one but the boys. When it come to All Things Elite from the fan perspective, swear, man, it ain't no question. Hear from them first. Swear, man, they putting in the work. No, they had to get me for the verse. Social Suplex Network's on. I was at a time in your headphones. Austin and Floyd on the microphone. Backing out on the ring, getting in the zone. Pulling up the show, give it 7 stars, you already know. Who else could it be but the show with the proclivity for positivity? I'm gone.
Welcome everyone to episode 221 of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am Floyd Johnson, and as I announced last week, joining me this week, hot from Japan, I think it's less than a week at this point, hot from Japan is Mr. JR Perez. How you doing today, JR?
I am hanging in there. Yes, I've been back from Japan for about 9 days. The struggle is real, though. Jet lag, fatigue, exhaustion is real, and it kind of lowered my immune system where I got a little sick, and I'm like barely recovering after about 5 days of feeling it after I came back from Japan. My sleep's finally getting back on track. I feel like, because I tell you, man, being 17 hour time difference is no joke. The most I did was 9 when I went to Paris in 2022, but 17 hours. That's a different ball game.
Yeah, that's a strong amount of time. And as I stated on the last show, we're going to be talking, we're going to end this show. The last segment of the show is going to be JR's trip to Japan. It was wrestling, AEW. Wrestlers were on Wrestle Kingdom. But, it's a bucket list trip for me. So whenever somebody likes to get back from Japan, I like to listen to the show and find out what they are. So hopefully some of you are interested in JR's experience. It won't just be wrestling. It'll be his whole trip to Japan. But we're going to do all the AEW stuff first. So if you really have zero interest in listening to JR, which I honestly, I've heard a lot of what he's going to say through the week and stuff. And I actually think it's pretty interesting, the contrast from America to Japan. So I think you'll enjoy it. But if you don't, we'll do all the AEW stuff, and you can back out before then. So if that's the case, but keep listening. I think you should stay on for the whole show. But if not, I want to definitely give you the option. So before we get into the show, we want to make sure you're downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and review if you're so inclined. You can follow us at AT Elite Pod, at Social Suplex. You can follow my usual host, Austin, who just got back from Orlando, so he's resting, at Austin Sumowicz. That's SZUMOWICZ on Twitter. And my personal account is at Floyd Johnson Jr. On Twitter. You can follow all of this. Mr. Lucha Professor, would you like to give your Twitter details, or do you not want anyone following you? It's up to you.
I'm actually at TGIF Professor. It's a quick note, like, I'm big into nostalgia, so me and my wife have been reliving TGIF Fridays from my childhood, where every Friday we watch shows like Family Matters and Boy Meets World step by step. So that's what the name is. Feel free to follow me there, and you'll see some nostalgia stuff and throw in some wrestling every now and then.
Yes. Yeah, JR is definitely, like, I travel for wrestling. JR travels, and then he happens to see wrestling while he's there. So that is the distinction between me and him. He's an avid traveler, and if he can throw in wrestling, UFC, whatever kind of event while he's there, that's great. Like, he's two birds with one stone. Me, I travel for wrestling. So literally.
Yeah, my new goal in life, if I can be able to accomplish this, is I have been, obviously being from the United States, I have seen shows in America, and I've seen a show in Canada. Traveled to Europe. I've seen wrestling and UFC in London. which is in Europe, obviously. And then now coming back from Japan, I have seen a wrestling show and an MMA show in Japan, which is in the continent of Asia. So my new goal is to try to see some type of show in South America, Africa, and Australia, the 6 habitable continents in the world. So I can be like, I've traveled the world and seen events. But yes, I try to accomplish both because I want to maximize my dollar as being a poor civil servant that is a lifelong educator.
So we need a King of the Indies match. We need Matt Cardona versus Joey Janela be the first wrestling match in Antarctica.
Oh, man, I'm there.
Live on Fight TV. Let's go. Or Triller TV. I don't know what it's called now. But yeah, that's what we should do. No, so yeah, let's look in the show. Big news of the week. And this big news literally broke less than 2 hours ago. Me and JR were on the phone, and I was like, oh, we got a new big news of the week. The big news of the week is kind of sort of AEW related. I mean, we don't know exactly how AEW related it is at this point. Well, I had a feeling it's AEW related. Kazuchika Okada is leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling at the end of his contract, which is January 31st, 2024. Honestly, I mean, in essence, this is like Roman leaving WWE. You know, this is Cody leaving AEW. This is the pretty much. I don't know what any other bigger wrestling news could be. So, JR,
just to that way comparison, people know, and in case they're not familiar with Okada, and I'm not gonna pretend to be a big New Japan expert. I started following New Japan on a novice level around 2015 when Wrestle Kingdom was presented on pay-per-view in America. I ordered it through DirecTV. And Okada was in the main event in 2015. So from 2015 to Wrestle Kingdom 2024 that I just attended, I think that's about 9 Wrestle Kingdoms if I do my math correctly. Okada was in the main event, I think, for every single one with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 where he was either in the co-main event, and I think the lowest he was on the card was 3rd to last. So multiple main events he's done, at least from the time I was watching from 2015, was always in the title picture year in and year out. Obviously, being the main event, he was in the title picture. So he's, from my experience, what I've seen, either number 1, if not number 2, and that's it. Like, of the biggest stars in New Japan.
Yeah, this would be if John Cena left during his run. You know what I mean? It's like, it's big. This is huge news in the world of professional wrestling. So, of course, I went. New Japan, I feel like it's the pipeline to AEW. So I went, hey, he's going to AEW, right? And then I heard some speculation, some rumors from a few friends of mine that he was signing with WWE. But Tony Khan, Killer Khan, the real Killer Khan, Tony Khan, just kidding, to all the people that are fans of the original Killer Khan, RIP, 6 hours ago. So right now it's 9:38 Central. So this was in between 3 and 4 Central Time. Tony Khan says it's going to be an amazing 2024. Then New Japan came out with the news. That Okada was leaving. Tony Khan then replied to his amazing 2024 tweet with a picture from the TV show The Wire. And my name is my name. And in essence, well, a lot of people are speculating. Well, Floyd, this host, is speculating that was him. Say he called his Okada shot 6 hours ago, and that was him confirming his Okada shot. What is 44 minutes ago? He confirmed that. But let me read the press release from New Japan, NJPW 1972 about Okada really quick. It probably just says what I said. But yes, thank you for supporting New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kazuchika Okada will be leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling after conclusion of his contract on January 31st, 2024. We apologize to fans for the abrupt nature of this announcement, but joining them in wishing Okada the very best in his future. As the New Japan series begins this weekend, Okada will appear on February 11th in Osaka, February 23rd and 24th in Sapporo. Changes will be made to forthcoming cards with the announcement to follow. We appreciate your understanding and continued support. Okada's statement, I have nothing but gratitude for having been a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling since 2007, and that's 17 years, and for New Japan bringing me from a 19-year-old kid off the plane in Mexico to the rainmaker I am today. Thank you to the best of companies at NJPW, to the best of opponents that I've been able to face here, and to the best of fans that have cheered and booed over the years. I promise to make it rain in every match I have left, so keep watching. Yes, so that was the official statement. I think the hottest ticket in professional wrestling right now is not the ticket on sale for the first weekend in April. I think the hottest tickets on sale is March 3rd, Greensboro, North Kakalaki, AEW Revolution, Sting's final match. Sir. All right, so we were starting to have this conversation before, and I actually stopped you because I was like, shit, we might as well record it because this is the first thing we're going to talk about. So what we're going to look at is we got to look at both sides. If Okada signs with AEW, with Okada signs with WWE. Of course, more time will probably be spent on AEW because, you know, you're listening to the AEW podcast. But let's start with WWE. JR, what do you think it means for Okada or professional wrestling in general if he signs with WWE?
Well, there has been discussions about WWE trying to make some headway into Japan for a while. Actually, I mean, going back to pre-COVID, they've been wanting to set up something in Japan. And if WWE were to be able to sign Okada, they would be able to utilize him, obviously, on American TV. And then maybe he would be able to help them establish either a working relationship with a promotion in Japan where he could go obviously represent WWE in Japan with another promotion, help get their foot in the door and establish that relationship. Bringing Okada in as far as weekly WWE television, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, you're bringing in one of the biggest stars from another country, and hopefully the goal is that he's able to be a big star in America. The concern I would have, though, is how many people in America, not online, but viewership that sees it on a daily basis that's not part of the IWC, knows who Okada is and is familiar with his work. Because what I would be afraid of is they bring him out and there just isn't that connection. Obviously his work ethic and his capabilities is off the charts. I don't foresee there being an issue like when they did it with Mystico when he came over from Lucha Libre. But if that connection isn't there, then it's going to be hard for him to get over with the crowd, which would then potentially get creative to maybe sour on pushing Okada. The other thing is, I would use AJ Styles in this. AJ Styles was a big star when he went to New Japan with the way they pushed him. He was always he was either in the title picture or near or feuding with the top stars in New Japan. Coming from Impact, when AJ left Impact Wrestling before going to New Japan, he was getting back to being in the main event status. He'd been there for so long. He's been mid-card, upper card, and everything in between. And he came over to WWE, and it was like this big moment. And then it just, they had that mid feud with Jericho, and then they had going to WrestleMania, and then they had him with Roman, and then he kind of fell back into the mid card. Okada, as I mentioned earlier, from my view, since I started watching New Japan in 2015, has always been in a main event picture or in like the second co-main event feud to the main event. He's not somebody that's going to probably thinking like, I don't have a problem working the first match. I don't have a problem working with the United States Championship type match. At least in my opinion, like, I think someone of him is like, man, for going on 9 years, I've been in the main event or close to the main event in the previous company. Why would I come back and work in mid-tier feuds? At least from my, again, novice eyes, that's how I view it. So I think it would be big for WWE. I don't know how big it would be for Okada if they don't push him that same route, because he should be in that same position as Cody Rhodes is.
I completely agree. And pretty much everything you said. The thing with WWE, the key to WWE is if you look at Shinsuke Nakamura, right? Shinsuke Nakamura in New Japan, big star, world champion, intercontinental champion. He comes to WWE. I think he has been presented well at times, and I think he's been presented terrible at times. You know what I mean? So now, with that being said, Okada, Nakamura, I'm not saying they're close. I don't know their personal relationship. I'm pretty sure, he gives the call and says, what you think? Nakamura gives, probably his honest opinions on what's going on. And it's like, well, you look at WWE. If you look at their spots, I've been saying this for about 5 months right now. Their top spot is Roman, right? Their second spot is Seth. Then you have Gunther, Cody. Then you have the Logan Pauls coming in and all that stuff. The top of WWE's card is pretty much set. They have their star-making performance. You can do the yeet. You can do all these chants when people come out. Yeah, you can do all that stuff, right? Very entertainment-based, right? I think Okada is a huge wrestling star. Wrestling star. You get what I mean? I don't think he translates well to sports entertainment. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a fucking idiot. Maybe you completely disagree with what I'm saying. I don't think the man translates well to sports entertainment. That dude, his thing is, he's the Rainmaker. You can't beat him. He's going to go in there and put on banger matches. 30 minutes, whatever. That dude puts on epic matches, right? So, yeah, I don't know how well he translates to WWE, the sports entertainment story base. But, and as we go on to the second part of the question, what does this mean for AEW? I think it makes AEW the best in-ring performer wrestling company in the world. With Omega, when he's healthy, Ospreay, Okada, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, even though it's his last year, you still have Bryan Danielson, Hangman, Swerve, Darby Allin. Fuck, I haven't even said Takeshita. I haven't even said him. Like Hobbs. I'm like, fuck. It makes you the best in-ring performing pro wrestling company in the world. Do you agree with that? And what are your thoughts on if he signs with AEW, JR?
Now, if he signs with AEW, this has given Tony Khan a further collection of main event stars. We've seen him from the time that he signed Kenny Omega when AEW was created to bringing in Jay White and bringing in Will Ospreay now. And then if he brings in Okada, on top of the other stars that AEW has either grown, people like Hangman Adam Page, MJF, another one that came over that is now one of the biggest stars in the AEW, Swerve Strickland. It gives you more, for lack of a better word, credibility, as far as, why people should take you serious. And that's one of the things, like, AEW has that hardcore fan base that we talk about that makes the event so great because of the passion and love they have. And if we talk about, growing the audience, if they continue to see the in-ring performance and bringing in somebody who has that caliber of Okada, it just brings you up another level. And that's on top of, they haven't even seen Ospreay on a consistent basis yet. So it really does help them in that way. So the only concern that some people would have, and I think this is very minor because this isn't the same as WWE, because you always heard this in WWE, you bring in these outsiders and they can't be overtaking, you guys who ride with you from day one. That I don't think that happens really in AEW so as much, but is that someone's like, hey, you bring Okada in and you put him straight to the title picture, someone's going to be like, hey, what about that guy that's been here since day one? I think that's a very minor part of the audience. I don't think it's as significant as we've in the other company's audience.
So it's funny because last week on the show, I talked about, and I made the announcement that my goal is to go to Wrestle Kingdom 20. I'm starting to wonder why. I'm starting to wonder why I would want to go there, because All In London in about 8 months, which I will be at, starting to shape up like it's just basically going to be a Wrestle Kingdom. All the people I would go for are now in AEW. I mean, with the exception of Shingo, because I fucking love Shingo. But, I'm like, definitely want to see Tokyo. But it's just like on a pure wrestling basis. Because like I said, I'm not a traveler. I travel for wrestling. You know what I mean? On a pure wrestling basis, everybody I would go see is pretty much in AEW. I kind of like the Naito gimmick, the Tranquilo stuff. As far as him in the ring, I know if you're a New Japan fan, you probably want to stab me in the throat. I get it, but he's fine. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, and then, in 2 years, in 2026, what is he going to be? You know what I mean? Is he going to be wrestling all the time? Is he going to be in the main event? You don't know. But, they got 2 years because New Japan, Shinsuke left, AJ left, the Good Brothers left. Then they probably went on one of their hottest runs ever. So New Japan bounces back from losing people. So I think they will be okay. And the great thing is they do have a relationship with AEW. So if Okada wants to go back and wrestle in New Japan, if Ospreay or any of these people want to wrestle, do one-offs in New Japan, they can. When it comes to Forbidden Door, that is a New Japan AEW show, they can, right? So it's like, I think that's another reason why, when you look at the advantages, we were talking about this. It's like, there's no Okada Kazuchika. You know what I mean? When you go to WWE, they're going to want their own name. I know Shinsuke kept his name, Samoa Joe. A lot of people have kept their name. And I imagine Okada's 38. He's been that for, 17 years, the Rainmaker. I'm pretty sure he would keep his gimmick in the WWE. I'm not trying to bury the WWE. That's not what this is about. But I'm saying they're going to want a WWE file, right? They're going to want to give him his music. They're going to want to present him the way they want to present him, right? But in AEW, he's the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. Probably will have the same music. Will have the same confetti dropping. He's going to be a big deal. He's not going to lose much. If you want to ask, look at Jay White. Look at Jay White. How many times has Jay White been flat out pinned in AEW since he showed up? Not much. Not much. That man. So they're going to present him as the Rainmaker. I honestly say probably within a year, maybe two. He's the world champion in AEW. And the idea, I don't like, I think this was a Punk thing, but if you're looking at it, they have 2 shows they're trying to sell, right? Dynamite and Collision. Rampage is there, don't we believe, but Dynamite and Collision are the shows they're trying to sell, right? The whole split roster thing with a world champion on each show didn't make sense. But look at the talent they have now. Look at the talent that they have now. It kind of makes sense to do a split roster. It kind of makes sense to be like, Kazuchika Okada is like the exclusive property of Collision or whatever. And that all makes sense at this point. And like, you got all these matches you can have with Okada that he hasn't had. So I'm looking forward to it. This has been, we've been going on for a minute about this, but I'm looking forward to it. I think he's signing with AEW. I said the Tony Khan messages. Tony Khan doesn't, to use a term, sell wolf tickets. He ain't out there getting you overhyped. And then, for the most part, generally, he feeds on this hype. I'm not talking about the announcement of an announcement thing. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a problem with me too. I hate it. But in general, when Tony Khan starts hyping something, when he starts hyping something, it's usually already in the bag. Would you agree, JR?
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is I think the bigger difference is I'll say two things. One is to kind of be maybe in favor of maybe Okada going to WWE, and one is against Okada going to WWE, and that way I can end this. Is the first one is, as through rumors, what we hear through the dirt sheets, is WWE today is a completely different place than it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, with Triple H and Nick Khan taking more power, with and now with Kevin Dunn, the longtime executive producer, leaving. You're starting to see more things that I would say is more professional wrestling friendly than sports entertainment friendly. So that is like a plus for Okada maybe going. The downside, though, is that WWE, in my opinion, when they look at stuff, especially looking at talent coming in, is what is the storylines we have for them? What would be a storyline for them to fit, and how does that affect the other talent that we currently have, especially the talent that we've homegrown and built to be stars for our company that we've invested time and money into? Where AEW, for me, the first thing they look at is what are the matches we're going to put on? Because matches, that does not affect storylines. It's just we're going to put Okada out there, and first match is going to be him versus Jay White. First match, let's rebuild up that. Let's go back to that rivalry. What's the second match? Why don't we put him out there with, I don't know, let's put him out there with Penta. And you can just go on that until you finally figure out, what are you actually going to do with him? And that's something that I think works against WWE, not just for Okada to be like, I'm not going to sign with you, but even for WWE to be like, you know what? We're just going to pass. He's not somebody that we really feel like that's going to fit into our company with what we're trying to do for the future.
Well, I got to say,
if that makes sense.
WWE is this is one of the hottest times of WWE ever. You know what I mean? Would they like Okada? Absolutely. Would Okada open up Japan for him? Absolutely. Do they need Kazuchika Okada? Absolutely not. Not even a little bit. They don't. They're WWE. They don't. They could literally take Shinsuke and, start presenting him better, right? Or whatever. But they don't need Okada. AEW, again, they don't need Okada, but they would treat Okada like they need him. You know what I mean? From the moment he comes in, he's going to be a big deal. Same entrance, same music, winning matches. I'm restating something I've already stated, so I'm going to get on. But I'm excited to see where he goes. Wrestling's fun. Wrestling is fun right now. Trust in TK. I say it all the time. I know some people don't, but trust in TK. TK, swinging from the fences. Honestly, he ain't going to lose a lot of free agent battles. You know what I mean? Because, he can promise stuff that other people can't promise. He's like, hey, your music? Yeah, I'll buy it. Hey, this, I'll buy it. You know what? You're going to be in a big match. First Revolution, we got you. I don't know. I am not big on, I'm not like Japanese wrestling history. Shit, I barely know American wrestling history half the time. But Konosuke Takeshita versus Kazuchika Okada, main event, a special Dynamite. I'm going. You'd be like, it depends on where it is. No, I'm going. If I have enough time, if you give me enough notice, you announced Tanosuke Katash, can't even say his name right now, versus Okada on the main event of our Dynamite, and you give me enough notice, I'm there. The Continental Classic next year, JR. The Continental Classic.
Hey, all I know, you know what? I gotta say this, and we're gonna move on. I promise. Like after I say this, because I just want to make this kind of thing.
Like, and I want to do. I'm gonna get you the point. I was just like, just to let you know, if we weren't doing a show tonight, we would have recorded something. That's how big this announcement was.
So, this like New Japan, man, they really got to start second guessing their partnership with AEW, because it seems like it's completely working in AEW's favor and not in New Japan's favor. Because
New Japan got Jungle Boy.
I remember that there's talk about wrestling history, and I'm the wrestling buff in this. Back in the 80s, when they were trying to compete with Vince, AWA, NWA, and there was another promotion. They started doing the Super Clash, where you have all these different promotions working together, and they say it did not work because all of a sudden, as Vern Gagne's son, Greg Gagne, said, all of a sudden you have Jim Crockett talking to our AWA champion about coming to Jim Crockett Promotions, and they couldn't work together. It's like, man, you know what? 3 years ago, it was they lost Jay White. Last year they lost Ospreay, and now they lost Okada. That's 3 IWGP World Champions that have gone from New Japan to AEW in consecutive years.
And not including the fact that, the AEW started with the New Japan champion.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. No.
And I think also the New Japan United States champion. Wasn't Cody the champion right before he left?
Yes. Cody was the United States champion, lost it to Juice before he left. I mean, and then Young Bucks is the most decorated tag team in New Japan Junior history, and they were the New Japan World Tag Team Champions.
I really do hope New Japan recovers, because this is my last thing. New Japan, I think, when guys like the Bullet Club of Gallows and Anderson, AJ Styles left, and Nakamura left, and Prince Devitt left, I think they were able to rebound, and because we got the Elite and it was great. And then the Elite left, and it was tough there for a minute, especially when COVID hit. Because remember, COVID hit like 14 months after AEW was created in 2019. They kind of were trugging along, but man, like these are 3 big names, two Gaijin, an Ospreay and White that have left, and now Okada's leaving. Those talents just don't get made overnight. Those are big names that they have lost, and I know they try to fill like Jay White's spot with Finley, and it's there. I don't know if it's taking, but losing Okada, it hurts. It hurts because it hurts the top of the marquee.
Yeah, but that's what they do. They build new talent. I think you definitely Rich Latta, One Nation Radio, is recording something tonight about his thoughts on Okada leaving. You definitely want to listen to Keeping It Strong Style, because they're going to have thoughts on Okada leaving. Literally, in their logo for their show, it's Okada doing the Rainmaker on Keeping It Strong Style. So they're going to have a lot of thoughts on Okada.
And I completely forgot. They lost Kota Ibushi too.
Yeah. Another New Japan champion to AEW. So when you look at now the whole Ibushi thing, he already had a broken relationship with New Japan. He ended up going to AEW. So, but that being said, definitely listen to Keep It Strong Style. You gotta listen to this next coming up weeks. You listen to this week's, you should listen every week, but you definitely want to listen to the next episode of Keeping It Strong Style. Definitely want to listen to One Nation Radio. I think they got breaking news tonight, so definitely go check that out. I mean, I'm pretty sure every podcast on this network is going to have something to say about Okada. This is the biggest wrestling news of this year, even in this very, very short year. So, it's going to ripple through the whole professional wrestling industry. So, all right, we're going to move on now. Last week, AEW Rampage, we had the results from, we're just going to quickly go through the results. I think JR didn't watch anything but Dynamite, so I'm just going to quickly go through the results of Rampage and the Collision and Battle of the Belts, give you my thoughts real quick. If you saw or anything you want to speak on, JR, you can throw it out there. Rampage, we had Eddie Kingston defending his Continental Crown Champion against Willa Yuta. And if Yuta won, he'd be a quadruple champion. He'd have 4 belts, but he did not. Eddie Kingston finished the Blackpool Combat Club. It was funny. It was almost like, I can't even say it's like a video game, because he went Claudio, then Danielson, then the underboss, then he went to the big boss Moxley, and then he went back to their young boy Willa Yuta and beat them. But it was exactly how you would imagine the Eddie Kingston versus a Willa Yuta match. That's exactly what it was. Very physical. Eddie Kingston hits the Northern Light Bomb and pins Yuta. Hardy's and Mike Briscoe interview backstage. It looks like they're going to be going for the 6-man gold in ROH or AEW. They basically said Mark is one of them. He is their brother, in essence. Then you have Swerve versus Matt Sydal. Don't be shocked on who won that. Swerve pretty much won an impressive faction. If you didn't know this, I don't know how many people that listen are watching Rampage every week. The Hardys are pretty much, everybody's like, Dynamite has their exclusive people. Collision has their exclusive people. Hardys have become they have decided they are the kings of Rampage. They are exclusive to Rampage. Even in the interview, they touted how their show, which is taped, beat Collision a week before, which I don't know if they were supposed to say that in the promo, but that was kind of crazy. So it looks like that's going to be the Hardys thing. Their biggest matches are going to be on Collision, and this week they even have a big match on Collision. Well, one of them has a big match on Collision. We'll talk about it later. Then we had Hikaru Shida versus Queen Aminata. Queen Aminata they're doing the whole Takeshita. I think they did it with Garcia and Willa Yuta. They're just putting her in there with the best, and letting her do her thing. So putting on good matches. This is another solid match. Shida finished off Aminata with the katana and then pinned her. They hugged after the match. Backstage with Ruby Soho and Saraya. This is a little sports entertainment for your day. Saraya showed Ruby Soho a video, and it looked like Angelo Parker was kissing the crazy Harley Cameron, and it was on Ruby's birthday, because last Friday was Ruby's birthday. So Soraya's gift to Ruby was to show her that her boyfriend or guy she's, talking to or whatever is making out with the other chick. And it turns out the video was taped in a way where he actually wasn't kissing her. But, now it's setting up a split between Saraya and Ruby Soho. Main event time, we had the Dark Order versus Cool Hand Ange, Daddy Magic, and Jake Hager. They were in full. This is Jacksonville, so the Dark Order or anybody related to Brody is a 99. A Madden 99 in Jacksonville. So of course, Dark Order picks up the win. So that was it for Rampage last week. Then we went into Collision and a battle of the belts. We had an open challenge. Rated R superstar Adam Copeland, I almost called him his other name, versus Shane Taylor Promotions Lee Moriarty. They put on a really good match. He's been using this finisher that looks a lot like the Yes Lock, but the elbow's in a different position. He taps out Lee Moriarty, and then he says, just in case you forgot, Christian Cage, I'm still coming for your scrawny ass. Now, I do have this question. A little logic, JR, where you can jump in. Adam Copeland beats Adam Copeland beats Christian. Christian then cashes in to win, but somehow Adam Copeland has to go back to the end of the line. Does that make sense?
Well, so Christian cashes in Luchasaurus or whatever, Kill Switch, whatever his name is, cashes in his TNT Championship opportunity. So the question becomes, in AEW, are you given automatically a number one championship, a number one contender rematch, or do you have to work your way back?
Yes, that's what I'm like. I know they don't do the guaranteed rematch in AEW, but they don't send you to the bottom usually, right?
I try to keep up with I try to keep up with all the TNT, like, you know, the all the championship changes, but like I'm trying to think about, I don't think they did that with
because Hangman never got a rematch against Punk, you know, but you know, Punk got hurt the next day. Yeah.
I would say the same thing, like, you know, Wardlow lost the belt to Luchasaurus, he didn't get a rematch, and then Luchasaurus didn't get a rematch. Well, he kind of got a rematch. It was a triple threat match for the belt. So he was in a triple threat match that he lost. I don't know, man. I try not to I try not to like think of logic in wrestling, because wrestling is so illogical at many times a point. But
it just seems like the initial build to the TNT match should have been him having to win a bunch of matches instead of, you know, him winning then losing, and now he has to come back for Christian Cage. It's weird. But hey, it was a thought, and I figured, you know, I didn't want to just be talking for like 30 straight minutes, so I was like, oh, let's see what JR thinks about this. We had the ROH Six-Man Championship. We had Bishop Khan, Toa Leone, and the Machine Brian Cage versus the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer and the Righteous Dutch and Vincent. The end of this match. Let's see. Bishop Khan used his finisher and flattened Vincent for the win. His finisher was what? The pedigree. He pedigreed. He pedigreed Vincent to win the match. Prince Nada, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the greatest ROH six-man champions of all time. And you know what? The Boss Swerve and I were watching those guys from the Bang Bang Gang complain about how they need more titles in their collection. More specifically, the ROH six-man titles. But you have a boss who couldn't beat Swerve in the Continental Classic. But since we're such great guys, this Wednesday live on Dynamite, it's Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony versus the Bang Bang Gang. So the champions actually challenged, you know, the contenders. So, you know, that's kind of cool. So yeah, that match was announced for Dynamite. Preston Vance was getting interviewed backstage. Roderick Strong and the Kingdom interrupted. Vance said this was his time, but after he was done with OC, he'd beat Roddy next week. Natural Dustin Rhodes versus Willie Mack. And Dustin planted Mac with the crossroads and pinned him. In a why the fuck is this on TV match? Like, I'm watching the match, and I like Dustin Rhodes and I like Willie Mack, but I was like, why is this match happening? For the life of me, still can't figure it out. I mean, I guess it was to get Dustin Rhodes hot for his TNT title match, but still. You know,
that's exactly, it happens more often than we realize, that, you know, sometimes matches get put on, especially on Rampage or Collision, to set up a future title match for somebody.
Yeah, so TNT champion Christian Cage interrupted Rhodes and said he didn't like the company that Rhodes kept because he was in a match with Adam Copeland the week before. Dustin challenged Christian Cage to put his title on the line this Wednesday on Dynamite. Then we had the Hangman versus JD Drake. I think this was a banger. Personally, this was Hangman's first Collision match, and because the show was in Virginia, I forgot to mention that. And he hit the buckshot lariat. He took out Anthony Henry, hit the buckshot lariat on JD Drake and pinned. Yes, this is a very physical match. I think, you know, if you just like physical, well-worked matches, you don't necessarily care that, you know, the result wasn't in question. I definitely say go back and watch this. We then had Deonna Purrazzo in Red Velvet. Deonna made Red Velvet tap out to the Venus de Milo. again, Red Velvet's one of those people I never have a problem with. She always puts on a good match. If she's winning or if she always makes the person look good. She does her job. So definitely, I would like to see Red Velvet win more, whether it be on Rampage against lesser talent. Again, I'm all about getting some easy wins. That way, when you finally do lose, it means more. Because it was like, oh, Deonna Purrazzo came in and beat Red Velvet. It didn't seem like that big a deal, but the Venus de Milo finisher is sick. It's the Rings of Saturn for all intents and purposes. It looks a little different, but it's the Rings of Saturn. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Then we had Hook versus Kevin Matthews of old school Impact fame. They were just saying Kevin Matthews was the same size as, he was a bigger guy like Samoa Joe. Hook just basically whooped that ass. And he said, Hook looked in the camera and said, Samoa Joe, I'll see you Wednesday. And of course, Tony Schiavone puts over. Hook has the momentum into Wednesday. Main event, we had Daniel Garcia in the greatest tag team in the history of the world, FTR, versus the House of Black, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Malachi Black. This was, go back and watch this match. It's FTR, it's the House of Black. I mean, you can't miss. In the end, Brody distracted the ref from the apron. Black nailed Dax with the roundhouse kick. Buddy curb stomped Dax and scored the victory. What we've seen tonight has been incredible, and the House of Black always rises to the top. That's Tony Schiavone. You know what they say, the house always wins. That was Nigel. Brody blindsided Matt Menard after the match. They had him surrounded. Garcia and Cash jumped in the ring with steel chairs. The House of Black were forced to retreat despite winning. FTR and Garcia made a final statement about taking out Brody with the Shatter Machine. Now, there was a cool spot in this match. I don't remember who it happened on, but FTR and Cash and Dax, held up one of the guys. I think it was Buddy Matthews, and then Garcia, so it was a double spiked pile driver. That's pretty cool. It looks like this FTR Dean Garcia thing isn't going away, which of course makes me happy because I like all three of them. But of course I do love the House of Black. But still begging. Maybe I'll get it in Greensboro. Probably going to get it before then, hopefully. Still can't wait to see FTR versus Kings of Black Throne. I want it to be Malachi and Brody versus FTR. That's one of my dream tag matches, so I'm looking forward to that. Right after, we go into the back, and the fights already started outside between Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara in their World Tag Team Championship street fight versus Big Bill and Absolute Ricky Starks. Go back and watch this. I could go spot for spot. I do think if there was a match last week that I say you absolutely need to watch, it's this match. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, they went absolutely after each other, tried to kill each other, all those things. And in the end, Sammy climbed a lighting truss. He's climbed the stage, 30 feet in the air, and went for a senton. Powerhouse Hobbs pulled Ricky Starks out of the way. Sammy crashed and burned on the senton. Starks put his arm over Sammy and pinned him. So the Don Callis family helped Ricky and Big Bill. The thing about this is, though, and I'm going to jump ahead. After the show, there was a promo by Will Hobbs and said, "What with your history with Ricky Starks? Why would you help him?" And he's like, "It wasn't about Ricky. It wasn't about Ricky. The Don Callis put out a hit on Chris Jericho, and we went out and executed the hit. It wasn't about Ricky Starks. They can still get it." And I just loved how they addressed that. I don't think you get that in other wrestling companies. They made sure to come back and tell you Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs still don't like each other. JR, if you want to join in, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think you said everything. Everything that I would say. So I would say that I got a chance to see some of the match, and there is times where I'm just ridiculously impressed about some of the stuff that Sammy Guevara can do. Yeah. I think all four men, they bring something to the table. I really do like the dynamic between Ricky Starks and Big Bill, and I hope they just continue with it. And as they move forward, give them something to bite into.
All right. And then we had TBS Championship match, Julia Hart versus Anna Jay. They put on a solid match. I thought it was a good match. I would not call it great. Wouldn't say 100% you need to go out of your way to watch it. But Julia Hart locked on Heartless out of nowhere and made Anna Jay tap out. I want to see more from Anna Jay. You see factions are a big part of the male roster, right? And, you know, the women's roster was kind of with injuries and certain things kind of depleted. So they haven't really been able to build a whole lot of factions or whatever. But with Serena coming back, Deanna being signed, hopefully Jamie Hayter getting healthy soon, Britt hopefully coming back. You know, you got Mercedes maybe debuting. You got all this talent. And if that all comes down and it's all comes to a head, I would like to see a women's faction to get more people on TV. You know what I mean? Just to get them more on TV, to get them in more matches, to help elevate the women's division. Footage was shown from early in the day. It looks like Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal don't like each other, and Sanjay Dutt and Karen Jarrett are trying to fix it. Satnam Singh entered the room and offered food to Jay Lethal, but Lethal shoved it away. I'm not saying I would piss off a 7-3 guy. I probably wouldn't do that. Jay Lethal, especially, kind of on a losing streak. The main event, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy versus Preston Vance. Yeah, I thought this was really good. Like, from a match where I came in, I figured I knew who won. And, I figured I knew who won. I tend to kind of zone out on matches where I know who's going to win. They caught me where I didn't have a lot to do when it was going on. And I honestly thought this was really good. I thought Preston Vance looked really good. I don't know what they can do with them. Again, this roster's getting pretty stacked, so spots are going away. I don't know what they can do with them, but they need to find something to do with Preston Vance. Orange Cassidy, let's see. Back in the ring. Okay, Preston locked on the full Nelson. Cassidy stomped on Preston's foot and broke free. Orange cracked Preston in the face with the orange punch. Orange pulped Preston with the breach break. This is how it's written on the All Elite site. I am not trying to make puns. He said he wrote, Orange pulped Preston with the breach break and pinned him, retaining the championship. The United Kingdom got in the ring after the match. They stared at Cassidy. Jose, the assistant, grabbed Roderick, but Roderick retaliated with a jumping knee strike. The Undisputed Kingdom, I keep saying United Kingdom, but Undisputed Kingdom, whenever I see UK, I always want to go United. But Undisputed Kingdom threw Preston and Jose out of the ring. They turned their attention back to Orange Cassidy. Roderick pointed at Orange and said the clock was ticking for him. All right. So that was Rampage, Collision, Battle of the Belts. Yep, I'm sticking to the title of all things elite in here. We're trying to cover everything. Now, for the show that me and JR pretty much watched at the same time, AEW Dynamite results from yesterday, January 17th, live from North Charleston Coliseum in North Charleston, South Carolina. Not South Charleston, not Charleston, North Charleston. All right. So on the call, we had Ian Riccaboni replacing Tony Schiavone, who was out, I guess, ill. I think they said he was ill. So it's Excalibur, Ian Riccaboni, and the Human Suplex Machine Taz for the broadcast team for tonight's event. It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. All right, first match, TNT champion. We had the Patriarch, Christian Cage, with Nick Wayne and Kill Switch versus the Natural Dustin Rhodes. How the match ended. Dustin got in the ring. Christian speared him. Christian smashed Dustin with the kill switch, but Dustin kicked out a 2 count. Dustin got back up, but Christian connected with a second kill switch and pinned Dustin. Taz says that spear was a direct message from Adam Copeland. Okay, JR, we watched this match together. Do you have any thoughts on this match?
The only thing I would say is, Dustin Rhodes, I think I looked him up. He's like, I want to say 54, 56, it was one or the other. And, if he works, the schedule he's been working, and I fully believe he could work until he's at least 60, if not 63. I mean, we've seen it with guys like Terry Funk and Ric Flair worked into their 60s, but he takes really good care of himself. I remember back in 2018, I talked to him about even just drinking soda. He told me himself he stayed away from everything. He really takes care of himself as he's gotten older and keeps in good shape. And, I think he could still go. I mean, I don't know about a full schedule because, Father Time is always going to be undefeated. But I do enjoy his work as he goes out there and does his performance that he puts on. And as people say, Christian, I think Christian's a great heel. I think people are getting to the point where I feel like he's starting to get overrated a little bit because of his heel promos, because he talked all the time about dead dads and stuff like that, and I'm your daddy, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I don't think it's as clever as people think it is, but I also have different standards than other people. But as Christian has continued to do his TNT Championship run, you're going to need to feed him people and until it's time for him to lose it, and you don't want certain people getting beaten to powder. Dustin Rhodes is somebody that can go on there, put on a good match with Christian, and could afford to take a loss.
Yeah, once you reach legendary status, which Dustin is, he is a legend in wrestling. Once you reach legendary status, you can lose, and it really doesn't mean a lot, right? My big thing is, and of course, I bring this up only because I'm me, and if I didn't say it, I wouldn't be me. Christian wants to fight Dustin Rhodes because he tagged up with Adam Copeland. Christian comes out with two people, and they're cheating Dustin. Killswitch even comes out to attack Dustin. Who is missing and does not come out to protect Dustin?
Adam Copeland.
Why are faces assholes?
Worst friends you can have.
Dude, JR, if somebody wanted to fight you because you were friends with me and you're getting jumped by three people and I don't come to help you, I'm the asshole, not the people that jumped you. I don't know how this... I know it's wrestling. And I there have been many times me and you have had a conversation, you asked the logic thing, and the only answer I had is it's wrestling, right? Many times. That's it. So I understand it. But in these type of cases, when you're a nerd and you watch closely, I'm a storyline nerd. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is about Copeland. So it only makes sense if Copeland accompanies Dustin to the ring. Maybe they outspark Copeland. Maybe there's too many of them and they still cheat Dustin to win, but Copeland doesn't look like a, D-bag. And maybe he only looks like a D-bag to me. Maybe in this world, I am the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that actually cares about this and nobody else thinks about it, but it has always bothered me. I'm never going to book wrestling. I'm never going to work for a wrestling company. But if I did, that would be the thing that I'd fix. They would kick me out of the room because I'd be so passionate about that faces actually need to be good friends. I remember back in WWE, right? Ryback turns on John Cena, right? Because Ryback had John Cena's back and then John Cena didn't have his back. And John Cena basically made him look like a whiny bitch. And all I could think of when watching that even back then is that Ryback was right and John Cena was the asshole. Do you remember that storyline a little bit?
Not particular.
So Ryback is on the winning streak and he's going in against CM Punk, right? And Ryback, CM Punk and John Cena had their thing and Ryback, would have John Cena's back. Well, the Shield cost Ryback the title. That's how they debuted. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's Survivor.
Yeah.
No, that's Survivor Series.
Yeah.
A triple threat.
Yeah. So that's how they debuted, and it was just like Ryback went on this thing and he was like complaining how he got screwed out of winning the world title or whatever, and it was like John Cena just made him look like such a bitch, and it led to Ryback turning heel. And and like I said, again, I don't go back and watch a lot of wrestling. So I want to make this clear. This is as I remember it. If I'm missing a few details that you like watched this last week, so you know exactly how it happened, you got me. You win. I'm not going to argue, and I'm not going to go back and watch it. You win. If you know this better than me, you win. You know, how many times have we done that, JR, me and you?
All the time.
Yeah, like, you win. Maybe I missed the detail. Maybe, because literally I watched it then and that's it. And this is me recalling from that one time I watched it years ago. But I remember being on Ryback's side because I thought John Cena not having his back was kind of a dick thing to do. So, I don't know. I'm not saying Adam Cole was a dick. And then, like he said, I'd be out there and didn't come. But you'd think, Christian, he says, I'm coming for you, Christian. Christian then challenges Dustin because he's kind of friends with Adam Copeland. You figure Adam Copeland would have his back. Again, that's applying logic to wrestling, which, can be dangerous. But, I still wanted to. Backstage with Swerve. Swerve had an excellent line, and I'm trying to remember it. Swerve said not only did he have eyes on the main event, which was Samoa Joe, which was going to be Samoa Joe and Hook, he also has his eyes everywhere. He said he didn't matter if it was Joe or Hook who came out as champion. Swerve said he's the most dangerous man going after the most coveted prize in the industry. Renee mentioned Hangman Page. Said, like I said, I've got eyes everywhere. Swerve said he's beaten Hangman twice and he's got no reason to prove it again. Like, I figured this was last night, and you can tell me if it was. Because actually, I believe Sean Ross Sapp retweeted it, so I can actually go get the exact quote. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The quote?
The God quote?
No. I mean, okay. I didn't hang on word for word what he said.
Basically, he said the skies can open up. The skies can open up, and God could come down. God damn it. I try not to use that one very much, so excuse me if that offended you. It's not one that I try to use.
I have it right here.
Okay, read it, sir.
If God opened up the clouds above us, came down from the heavens, and everyone on earth challenged him, I think Hangman Page would have a chance, but he still couldn't beat me.
Oh my God. Is that not some gangster shit?
So that's as the kids say nowadays, bars.
That man said you can beat God, but you can't beat me. What? Who says that? I heard it, and I reacted, and I was like, oh, then I read it from Sean Ross Sapp, and I'm like, fuck, that is. I think they got lost. They got lost in the sauce a little bit. That man is dropping some knowledge right now. I thought that was pretty good. Like I say, I heard it. I didn't react to it. Then I read Sean Ross's tweet and I read it again, and I was like, God damn. Again, I don't say that one much, but it got me. So Renee Paquette interviewed Chris Jericho backstage. Jericho said Don Callis' family ripped the AEW World Tag Team Championship belts and from Sammy Guevara's hands. Takeshita Hobbs, you caused us to lose and you injured Sammy. Now, even though I beat you in Tokyo, Takeshita, suddenly that match doesn't mean as much anymore. I'm going to seek and destroy your ass. Matt Sydal interrupted and questioned why Jericho was losing over this defeat. To get over this loss, you have to get back in the ring. You have to fight somebody who's beaten you before like me. He said, you're asking for a match. I respect you as a wrestler. Someone even say you're born to do it. Shout out to Evan Bourne from WWE. Maybe we need to do this match on Rampage, but I've got to warn you, I've got a lot of pent-up aggression, so be careful what you wish for. I'll see you Friday. So, match announced for Friday. We had Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta versus Commander and Penta El Zero Miedo, JR's favorite wrestler. Yeah, this was a good match. This is a dynamite match. High pace, lots of action. In the end, Trent Beretta hits, I believe, Penta with, what's that move? What's that move called? The Crunchy, and he pinned Commander. So he hits Commander with the Crunchy and pinned him. After the match, the Undisputed Kingdom walked onto the ramp and down to the ring. Roger Strong, I know you heard me say to the fans and other people, but I came out here to say it to your face. So take off your glasses and look me in the eye. Orange, take your glasses off now. We can end you right now if we want it. It's like, listen, you've been a fighting champion and willing to take on anyone at any time, but tonight you decided to wrestle in a tag match and not defend the AEW International Champion. But why? Is it all becoming too much? Are you afraid you don't have enough in the tank to keep it? Or are you afraid of me coming for it and you can't face it? It belongs to me and I'm coming for you. I'm here to make you face it. Orange Cassidy's like, all right, let's wrestle. Like now, Orange Cassidy's been literally taking on all challengers. He's actually been taking on challengers that didn't actually challenge him. And Roger Strong, no, takes off his shirt. Looks like he's about to wrestle. Like, no, not right now. You're going to have to wait until March 3rd live on pay-per-view on Revolution because I want you for the next 6 weeks to live with that, to accept that, to wake up every day knowing that you're just keeping my title warm from me. So, the first official match announced for AEW Revolution in Greensboro, North Carolina, is Mr. Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy for the international title. Sir, first of all, what did you think of this match? What did you think of the segment afterwards? And what do you think of the match announcement? Let's go. I want to hear what you think.
First, I mean, they put on a heck of a match. I think Orange Cassidy, as I've said it time and time again, I think he's one of the best athletes in AEW. And if you don't believe me, try to just do a nip up in your living room with your hands and see how difficult that is. And everyone knows I love Penta. I love Penta. Unfortunately, Commander, he's a great luchador. Just takes way too many L's for me. But they did what they do. Go on, put a spotlight on for Orange Cassidy to lead to this segment. I'm glad they're trying really, really hard to establish the undisputed kingdom as in a very important faction, and it starts with having a match of this I don't want to say caliber of magnitude because I think that's the wrong word, but I'll use them of this magnitude where Roger Strong, who has been somebody who has been a hell of a talent for a long time, has never been at a level as being, I would say, a single star on a main show. We know he was like, when he was in NXT with Undisputed Era, he was the NXT North American champion, but he's never been at that level of where either in previous companies. So having him in this position of challenge Orange Cassidy, who's a homegrown talent who a lot of people love, it's very important for him in AEW as well as Undisputed Kingdom to have that establishment of them being an important faction. I think they're going to do great work. I think it's going to be a great match and an important milestone in Roger Strong's career in AEW.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Roderick Strong is the best secondary champion like ever. He was the North American champion in NXT. That's what he does. Tag team champion in NXT. That's kind of his role. He's sometimes, he's the, like the best second. You need the Arn Anderson of the group, the guy. And that's what Roderick Strong is. He's the technician. He's going to always put on a good match, whether it's 4 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, Roderick Strong's going to bang. So I know this match with Orange versus Orange Cassidy is going to be a banger. It's just, it was just like 6 weeks building to an international title match just seemed interesting. Like they don't, Tony Khan, doing something, like generally we don't get a match for the pay-per-view until like a week before the match, so the fact that they announced in the 6 weeks, maybe we're getting, like a changing of the guard on how much time we get to get ready for these shows. Page backstage with Hangman. He said, if you think the past 5 years, you will not find another soul on the planet. A soul on the planet who cared more about AEW World Championship than I have, who treated it with reverence, who needed it. But in 2024, not only will I win it, but I will also put my name on it and keep it there for as long as I can. Swerve seems to think about me a lot. I don't think about him at all. I mean, I would think about a person that broke in my house and touched my baby, but whatever. If he says he can beat me, I would say it doesn't matter because he's not the world champion. Samoa Joe is. I'll be watching tonight, and if Hook wins, God be with you, which is hilarious. So basically, he didn't deny the fact that he can't beat Swerve.
He sidestepped it.
he sidestepped it. So even though Hangman's a badass, there is a confidence issue when it comes to Swerve Strickland, and I dig it. Hangman's back in my eyes. This is the Hangman, right? When AEW was first presented, it's like, this is what I thought the Hangman could be. He's the cowboy. I always thought there was a little Stone Cold in him. And, he's a great worker, little Magnum TA. You saw everything that the makings of a great, great good guy, right? And he had his world championship run. It was amazing. He lost to CM Punk. And it's felt like he has been kind of, like in this, purgatory, like directionless. He's had some great matches, but Hangman should have been a person, to me, that never left the world title picture after he got the title, because he was the guy in this company, even with the Elite there, right? Even though you had Cody, you had Omega, you had the Young Bucks. When you talk about the pillars of AEW, right? I mean, you have those guys that are young, but the first pillar, the first back the company was supposed to be built off of, his story was super important, was Hangman, right?
Yes.
He was in the first world title match. It was this long run to him finally becoming the champion. And it was like, once he became the champion, Hangman was always going to be there. He was the Sting. He was the franchise of AEW. He was all of that. It just felt like he kind of got knocked down a peg after CM Punk. Then MJF. And then it's like always he wasn't quite there. But this badass, ruthless, I hate everybody version of Hangman, oh God, I am behind. Because I used to joke about hating the fucking horse, which I never actually did. But this is what I wanted. This is the fire I wanted. This is the aggression I wanted. Hangman feels like Hangman again. As someone who's all about that effing horse and being there for his title win, what do you think about his presentation right now?
I love it. I think it's his best presentation he's ever had, because he's coming in with that attitude that reminds me, I didn't grow up on him, but reminds me of Magnum TA. And of, as you mentioned, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love the mustache. I just love the look. And he just come out there and be serious. And, I was there for the title run, and it was great, the stuff he did with Dark Order, but it needs to come to a point where he needs to realize, after going into his, if I do math correctly in my head, going into his 5th year in AEW, it's like, you may have been champion, but that reign exactly wasn't all that, special. Go get your fire back. Go, get that fire underneath your ass and go out there and knock people out and win a championship.
And then we have Mark Briscoe walked out to the ring to honor Jay Briscoe. Basically, in essence, he's like, they lost his brother. His brother's in heaven. He moved on. He's in heaven. They told his daughter that she would never walk again. And she told his daughter that she would never walk again. She was in an accident. He said, but God, was in control. And the daughter walked out in a very special moment. The daughter, who was told she would never walk again, walked out with Mark Briscoe to honor Jay Briscoe. And, them boys for life. And, it's just... It struck a heartstring. I didn't cry, but, I felt a little something there. What'd you think?
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing I can say, man. The shit was emotional.
Renee Paquette sat down with the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson. Nick says, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you can show us respect and call us by our God-given names, Nicholas and Matthew. We're executive vice presidents around here, and it takes time to take a job a little more serious. I thought this was funny. Yeah, I thought this was funny because this is them saying you have to refer to them by their God-given names. If you remember the Jericho Appreciation Society, he says, we don't use made up names. And he's like Angelo Parker, Matt Menard. And then he's like, I'm Chris Jericho. And I'm just like, I'm stroking my beard. Is Chris Jericho his God-given name, JR?
No.
Is Nicholas,
if I'm not mistaken.
Is Nicholas and Matt Jackson their God-given name?
No.
Yeah, it's such a funny heel trope because they say call us by our God-given names, and then they don't use their God-given names. We've heard about your public tantrums, the rumors. He's like, you rumors, you want to go there? I think I thought this whole segment was brilliantly done. So if I'm reading a lot, it's because I just thought this was perfect for what's about to establish the Young Bucks characters. And for everybody, remember, the Young Bucks are my second favorite tag team of all time. So I'm very excited about what's coming. Rumors, you want to go there? I think I know which rumor you're talking about. Don't believe the things they say are right about us, do you? None of those are true. Let's say, hypothetically, some of those were true. What would you do to preserve and protect your life's work? What would you do to protect your baby? I know what I would do. So just think of the next time you come at us with rumors again. Again, this is all hypothetical, but what would you be willing to lose? Also, would you be willing to lose your relationship with coworkers and your friends? How about your legacy and reputation out the window? If you know all that in hindsight, would you do it all if it meant there'd be a healthy, sustainable company called AEW? I'll answer that. Hell yeah. And speaking of there being a company around, you got your pay check this week, right? Awesome. I thought that was the perfect douchey line. Perfect douchey line. And switching gears, let's talk Sting. He's like, when I started AEW in the beginning, you weren't there. You weren't there. So you wouldn't know. But we used to say change the world. We were disruptors. We were changing the world. We were changing. Hold on a second. I accidentally clicked down. We were changing the world, and somewhere along the way, we lost our way. It's like the culture shifted. Toxicity crept into the locker room. Wonder who they're talking about, JR. It was just different. I think I know why. I think it's because we started to lean on yesterday's self-serving cancerous superstars. Woo! And you mentioned Sting. This isn't about Sting. Sting is none of those things. Sting is great. Sting is a role model employee, which I laughed. And I'm envious of the way they talked about Sting. Maybe they'll talk about us like that one day. However, it's what Sting represents. Sting is the last of that dying breed, and the image of Sting isn't in line with what we wanted to do with AEW. We wanted to change the world. Unfortunately, Sting, we're going to have to say goodbye to Sting, and everybody likes Sting. We would never ask anybody to do anything we weren't willing to do ourselves. Nick says, good point. As that's the official call-out Sting at resolution for this final match, as EVPs will pull some strings. So, a lot of people were talking about, the evil Tony Khan character if he was the devil. And, now they're doing the evil Young Bucks boss character. What do you think? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
Oh, I fucking hate the Young Bucks. I think they've been...
So this is right?
I don't give a shit. I hate the Young Bucks. I think they've been nothing but glorified spot monkeys who've been nice to fans, who bought merchandise and meet and greets. I don't get the lore. I don't get why everyone thinks they're great. I think this whole douchey gimmick is fucking terrible. I don't want to see them on my television. I'm happy when they're not on television. So yeah, I'm good.
So my big thing about the Young Bucks is there is this idea that AEW was a vanity project for them. Literally, all these guys do is put people over. All they do is put people over. I'm like, you can talk about the characters about the play or whatever, but if you talk about the reality of it, all they do is put people over. All they do is make the other teams look good. I don't even know what match it was, but it wasn't very long in their match, and they lost the opening round of the tag team tournament to Private Party. Does that sound like somebody that only cares about themselves?
I don't give a fuck. I'm going to be honest. To me, it's not a vanity project. AEW was a vanity project. AEW was a retirement project for them. It's a retirement check they're getting, so that way after they get done wrestling, they have a nest egg that they have built for themselves. And honestly, I know what they said, and it was tongue in cheek and whatever. Let's fucking move on from fucking September 2022 already. For fuck's sake, dude. Can't we just move on, act like everything's normal? The match ain't fucking happening. We're moving on. Let's move to something else. Yeah, you wrestle Sting and Darby. Great.
It's very, we're proclivity for positivity, but I'm glad we had you on the show because I wanted the extreme differences because that's what you see online is exactly what's going on in this conversation. There are people that love the Bucks, me included in that. Rich Latta, way bigger Bucks fan than me, even though I love the Bucks. And then you have you who hates the Bucks.
I just, it's one of those things where, I'll say this, and it's my fault. For a long time, there are certain people in wrestling that I never understood. But to try to be like, in the fun crowd or in the group or the club or whatever, just let's all join in and hold hands, say kumbaya and praise them. Like, I just don't get it. I never did. And I think these last 2 years has just been, or year and a half has just been just a bunch of nonsense. And it's just like, let's move on. Like, why could we just have, you know what? The Young Bucks, the greatest tag team in the world, wants to face one of the greatest legends in the world in this final match. Or Sting challenges them like, I got one more in me. And it's just like, I want the best of the best.
To borrow a line from my favorite cartoon, The Moondocks, because that's boring, Huey. What you're saying is boring.
Okay.
Like what they did last night has the world talking, and that's what you wanted to do. The world's talking about the Young Bucks and their final match with Sting. Next up, we had this ROH six-man championship match. The Mogul Embassy, Bishop Khan, Toa Leone, and the Machine Brian Cage versus Switchblade Jay White, the Guns, Austin and Colton. In the end of this match. Let's see. Jay White shoved Cage into the Sting steel ring post. Jay White lit up Bishop with heavy chops, sending thunderous echoes through the arena. The Guns blasted Cage with a 310 to Yuma. Bishop Khan split leg drop kicked the Guns. Khan distracted the refs while Prince Nana tripped up Jay White. Khan hit a lung blow on Jay White for a near fall. Prince Nana jumped into the ring with the belt ready to hit Jay White while Khan distracted the referee. The Scissor King, Anthony Bowen, sprinted to the ring and pulled the belt away from Prince Nana. Jay White rocked Khan with the Blade Runner, because Jay White does not lose, with the Blade Runner and pinned him. And new ROH World Champion, six-man champions, Bullet Club Gold. The crazy thing in this match, they were the clear faces in the match. They did not cheat. They have not really changed their characters, but the Bullet Club Gold were definitely the faces in this match. What do you think of the match? What do you think of the match? What do you think about Bullet Club Gold winning? And what do you think about the superfection that has been presented of Bullet Club Gold and the Acclaimed?
The one thing I would say is Austin and Colton Gunn have come so far in such a short time. I mean, from the time they kind of put them out there in a prominent position, I don't think it was longer than maybe 16 months ago. I think that's even too much. I think it was like November 2022 is when they finally kind of put them out there and giving them, go out there and have in a prominent position. And they started their feud with the Acclaimed. As far as like getting towards the title, becoming AEW Tag Team Champions, I like what they did because people like to see them. They like to see them either on television or like to see them get beat up. They love Jay White. Obviously, they become kind of baby faces because of what happened in the Devil storyline. With Jay White getting beat up. As far as this proposed super faction, I don't see it. I think this is a long way to get to a title unification between the AEW Trios champion, the Acclaimed, and Billy Gunn, and the ROH six-man champions, Bullet Club Gold. I fully suspect there's going to be a few twists and turns, but eventually it's going to lead to Revolution, Greensboro, these two tag teams coming together to unify the belts. And honestly, in my opinion, it should be unified. We don't Ring of Honor, AEW, I'd like to call it Tony Khan Enterprises, doesn't need 2 6-man championships.
Bang, bang, scissor gang. That's what I'm talking about. Bang, bang, scissor gang. Scissor me. They're going to scissor. They're going to all 6 going to scissor. And yeah, somebody's going to screw the other over. Probably the Bullet Club goes screwing over the Acclaimed. But I will say this. I hate that they call them the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. I think they should just call them the Acclaimed. So that's all I gotta say. Undisputed Kingdom's Adam Cole and Wardlow were backstage. Wardlow hasn't even scratched the surface of what he's capable of. But now with the Undisputed Kingdom, this man will be unbeatable. This man will go down as the most dominant AEW professional wrestler of all time. I promise you that. And just wait and see until Wardlow comes to run over opponent after opponent after opponent. There's nothing left but the AEW World Championship, which will be the property of the Undisputed Kingdom. Ain't that right, big man? Wardlow goes boom. Got a question, JR. But as far as characters, what is the difference between Don Callis and Adam Cole right now?
Nothing.
I recall there was a lot of stink online when it was suggested Adam Cole go to the main roster of WWE and be a manager. Pretty fucking good at it, right? Just saying. I'm not saying he should stay a manager. I know once his ankle gets better, he'll be a wrestler because he's a phenomenal wrestler. Well, I'm just saying. Can you see can you see what the other guy saw?
His career.
Huh?
He's finally made it to the top. He became a manager. That's all. That's what the CEO thought he should be is the manager. No, I mean the thing is Adam Cole. I will say this. I love me Adam Cole. I remember. I'm sure I said this. I'll take quick. I remember going to my first ever Ring of Honor show, and he was main eventing against Jay Lethal. He was in Bullet Club. They just shaved Jay Lethal's head. They had this rabid rivalry. It was in Vegas for Dishonor in August of 2016. I love his work. Like, I think it's the complete opposite. Like, I think he's a great storyteller. I think he has great promos. I've said it. I've been saying this since like 2019. I thought he was a future of WWE. I think he's a future of AEW. I think he should be AEW World Champion. And everyone's like, he's too small. Man, the way he works and the way he cut promos and his presence and, and his charisma makes up for any fucking height differential or weight differential. He's just really good. And it's important when you have a guy like that on TV as often as possible, even if they're injured. And I say that because I remember, and I'm not comparing him to this gentleman, but I remember in 1997 when Stone Cold, after SummerSlam 97, was dropped on his head by Owen Hart, Stone Cold could not wrestle. And he was out for months leading to Survivor Series 97. But the one thing was Stone Cold had to be on TV because people needed to see him. He needed to continue to get over as being the future of WWF at the time. So I see the same thing with Adam Cole. Like, eventually we're going to get to Adam Cole versus MJF. It's going to happen. And when it does happen, it's going to be a big thing. But he has to be on TV to sell it, especially with MJF not being on TV. So that's why we have this spot where he could be the quote-unquote manager to help get Wardlow over. And it's also going to help Wardlow because Wardlow, a year ago, we were like rabid. Actually, I'm sorry. I forget 2024. Almost 2 years ago, we were rabid Wardlow to like turn on MJF and become a champion and do all this, and he's lost so much momentum since then, and it's time to get it back.
Damn right, Wardlow's back, and who fixed him? Adam Cole, baby, manager extraordinaire. That dude, he's just one of those things. He's just good at everything he does. It was just a joke that I brought out. I was like, did Vince McMahon win? Because Adam Cole ended up a manager. Well, he's only one for right now. Anyway. Then we had the virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, who was the subject of some internet stuff this week. I will say this.
Let me say this. Let me say mine first because you may say a little more positive.
Yeah.
If you're if you're going to talk shit about anybody, post a fucking picture of yourself before you do it. And I know it's proclaiming for positivity, but you being a douchebag online talking about anybody, I don't care if it's Deonna Purrazzo or Eddie Kingston or fucking Butterbean. Don't be hiding behind some emoji. Don't be hiding behind a fucking avatar of Roman Reigns or fucking or a fucking anime character. Be an adult. Post your picture of your hideous self before you say anything, and I guarantee you won't because you're a coward. Shut your ass up and leave these people alone who bust their ass day in and day out in this position of being a professional wrestler, who put in the work, not just in the ring, but in the gym to be themselves. And you know what? Not everybody has six-pack abs. Six-pack abs doesn't define if somebody's in shape. It's what they do getting themselves that makes them healthy, that makes their heart healthy. And I know that because I'm talking from experience. I'm not somebody who has fucking six-pack abs, but I bust my ass just like many of these other talent dudes in the gym day in and day out to be able to be heart healthy and live a healthy life. So shut your ass up when you're hiding behind those fake ass avatars.
Well, I will say something because there's really no way to be positive about these things. I don't care if you look like the judge. I don't care if you are the most fit person in the world, right? The idea that you can get online again and say these things about people, to say these things about how they look and all this stuff and whatever. Again, I just say don't. I mean, I know. I don't think anyone has ever thought they were helping. Ever. I don't think you think you think you're helping. I don't think you're like gonna get her in shape or whatever. I'm like, hey, is there things in the world can make people look more flattering, better, worse, or anything else? Absolutely. But is it your business to get online, tag them or don't tag them or whatever and talk shit about them? No. Stop being a dick. You know, everybody can have personal preferences, right? Everybody can have personal preference. Keep the fucking preferences to yourself. That's it. Keep it to yourself. Tell your friends. Get on your phone with your friend and shit talk whoever you want to because, you know, that's what you and your friends are for. But don't go on social media talking shit about people. It's pointless. I am very much understand that wrestling is a cosmetic business. And I absolutely have my preferences on what I like to see and what I don't like to see. Absolutely, just like anyone else. But am I going on social media and calling people fat or blah, blah, blah? That woman's in phenomenal shape, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she was 450 pounds. It doesn't matter. She is what she needs to be to perform her job. She is what is required for her job. If she was out of shape, blah, 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 Tony Khan or the people of Power B, they deal with that. You're not the person to address that online. Leave that shit alone. That's really all I wanted to say. I'm not defending anybody. I am saying flat out, keep that shit to yourself. Choke on it, die on it, suffocate on it. I don't care. This is probably the least positive thing because I'm ever going to say, because I don't really like the whole bullying asshole thing on Twitter. If you ever go to my Twitter, it's very innocuous, right? If I have something shitty to say about somebody, I say it to my friend. I say it to JR on the phone and it dies right there, right, JR? I'm not saying I don't say shitty things. I am not going to say I'm perfect. I am not.
Because obviously just was going on my asshole rant, like I'm the same way.
Yeah, but we have preferences. Everyone does. But there's some preferences you can keep to your fucking self. In this, talking about Deonna Purrazzo or any other wrestler. I see Nyla Rose gets a lot of it. Fuck you. If you feel the need to get on social media to do it, find something else to fucking do. Anything else to do. Deonna J, didn't mean to get away from the match. Deonna, I am so happy was with AEW. She's such a phenomenal wrestler. I thought her and NJ had a really solid match. Deonna, it was fairly quick though. Deonna finished her with her Venus de Milo because they're really trying to get Deonna over. I think Deonna versus Tony is the logical match for Revolution that's coming up. After the match, Renee Paquette, I called her old name. Renee Paquette said she'd like to meet with you, but the champ is right there. Is there anything you'd like to say to her? Absolutely, Tony. I don't know what's gotten into you. We've known each other. Okay, Tony Storm was hilarious with this one. I know some people don't like the whole Tony thing, but I thought this was particularly hilarious. Hold on a second. All right. I don't know what's gotten into you. We've known each other for a long time. It used to be like sisters, and it's clear since I've ridden AEW that you've changed. But you know what? So have I. I may have been friends. You may have been friends with Deonna Purrazzo, but you have never met the greatest technical wrestler in the world, the virtuoso. Tony, technical. You're technical. Well, technically speaking, you're artificially tanned hacked. My past is none of your concern. I ought to march right in the ring and sock you right in that box. But we must go into commercial, so chin up, tits out, and watch for the shoe. Mariah May threw a shoe at Deonna. Deonna threw it back. Tony, you're toast. You're going down. Luther carried Tony away on the shoulder. What do you think about Tony Storm's new finisher, the box punch, sir?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I love Tony's character, but sometimes she cuts promos that just completely loses me. Like I saw this be a thing online, like about the box punch, and I was like, did she say bollocks?
No,
like,
box, like the vagina.
Oh,
she said she was gonna punch her in the pussy.
Whoa. Hey, this supposed to be, well, we're off the road.
I've said fuck. I've said fuck like 6 times in this episode. So
I think I said asshole like 30 times. So I think proclivity positivity has gone out the window like about at least 20 minutes ago.
Hey,
but
cussing is, you can say fuck yeah, and that's a positive thing. Okay.
I just wonder, like, is it gonna be like just a straight hand or an uppercut or like just how is it gonna be delivered? It's just,
man,
yeah.
It's what I love. It's the thing that British, she's Australian, but when you do something in an accent and you use like a term that's not normally used, the shit you can get away with. If she's like, I'm gonna punch you in the vagina, people would be like, they probably would have had to beep it. But she can say the box, which is the same thing. And she might have meant, I know she can twist it. She's like, I'm punching the box. You know what the ring is kind of shaped like? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, she can flip it if she wanted to. But we all knew what she was saying, which was fucking hilarious that she got away with it. It was like,
it's even better if you say, like, people don't know, like, it's even better if you say it in language, like, as the only language I know, a little bit about is Spanish. Like, there are things I hear, it's been like Pentagon or Rey Mysterio, they said things and I was like, oh man, that should have been beat. But because it's Spanish, they don't pay attention.
Correct. So yeah, I remember the Godfather was telling a story about roll a fatty for Pimp Daddy, and he told him a fatty was a cigar. They didn't know it was a blunt, like weed. And he's like, yeah, so we got away with it because the censors didn't know what it was. And I was like, that felt like this. Top Flight versus Private Party, and you asked me a year and a half, 2 years ago, before all the injuries happened, man, I'd been so excited for this match. This was a good match. I always say, sometimes, we talked about it, wrestlers leave bullets in the chamber. They don't necessarily give everything on one. This is a particular case where I felt like Top Flight and Private Party, this was a dynamite match. They only had a certain amount of time. They gave you something. They gave you a little something. They gave you a teaser. They didn't give it to you. At the end, Private Party hit Gin and Juice on Dante. Darius ran in to make the save, but Mark Quinn rolled him up and with the help of the rope scored the pin. You know why that was confusing, right? Who the fuck was illegal?
I lost track.
Yeah, like
they were hitting so many spots. I was like, y'all lost me, man.
Yeah, no, even at the moment, I was like, was he even legal? Because he made the save. So if he made the save from the thing, that means the person that was getting pinned was legal. So he shouldn't then be able to get pinned. Wrestling. But the new look Private Party going to their heel ways, get the win over get the win. Excalibur wondered if it was intentional or it was just instinct. Either way, Top Flight felt like they were robbed. Action Andretti came out because, Action Andretti's a good friend. He came out to defend his guys, and, Private Party's like, nah, we out. We won. A Darby and Sting video package aired, which is great. And they said the story, the story's never about the beginning, and it's about the end. And it's going to end with Darby and Sting as world champions. So they are Darby and Sting officially challenging Ricky Starks and Big Bill for the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Which, Sting and Darby are undefeated as champions, like 26-0 or some shit. Next match, Samoa Joe versus Hook. I thought this did, I remember Sting and Ric Flair, their first match at the Clash of Champions. And the old goal was like, you got to make Sting look like $1 million. So when we do make him world champion, it's not a surprise. And I think it took like 5 or 6 years before he became world champion. But that it was put in the back of people's mind. I thought Samoa Joe and Hook pulled off the same thing in this match. They did not go to the 60-minute draw like Sting and Ric Flair did. But the hope spots, Hook kicking out at 1, the aggression, him coming out from the beginning, attacking. It's Hook. Is Hook ready to be champion now? No. But this match said and set the table that Hook is going to be a future AEW World Champion. I thought Samoa Joe and Hook both performed their responsibilities perfectly in this match. I thought it was a great match. I probably liked it more than anyone else out there because of me being an 80s guy. And this is what being the champion meant back then. You made young guys and everybody you beat, you still made it look good, even in a loss. Hook goes for Red Rum. Samoa Joe then reverses it into the Kahina clutch, and Hook doesn't tap out. He passes out, and after the match, Samoa Joe's leaving the ring. Hook gives him the middle finger. Samoa Joe comes back and gives him the muscle buster. Samoa Joe's leaving again, and he's about to attack him again, but this time Hangman comes out and makes the save because Hangman's a good guy. Hangman and Samoa Joe kind of look at each other as Samoa Joe walks out, and Samoa Joe looks to the left, and who's there always watching? His other challenger, Swerve Strickland. So it looks like all intents and purposes, it looks like we're getting a triple threat at Revolution. I personally want Samoa Joe in a one-on-one match at Revolution, so I hope it's not a triple threat, but it looks like that's where we're leaning. Sir, what did you think of the match, and what happened after the match?
Well, I enjoyed the match because it was brutal, and I love hard-hitting, strong style, brawling type matches, almost as much as anything else, as much as I love technical matches. Samoa Joe put Hook through the ringer, and Hook stood his ground, and, he got his comeback, and the finish was in a way that really protected Hook, because he didn't tap out. He didn't say, I quit. He wasn't pinned. He passed out. And it was a loss that it's a victory and a loss in a sense because it elevated Hook to another level and made him, in the eyes of many, look like a badass. And the example I would give, and I was saying this to you last night, was I remember it was in 2002, The Undertaker fought Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the WWE Championship. At the time, Jeff Hardy was one of those guys that was getting a lot of fan backing, especially after the TLC matches, the ladder matches with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. And at this point, WWE just did the brand split, and Jeff Hardy was about to go on a singles run. And this kind of it didn't propel him into the main event picture, but it definitely pushed him into a level where people could see him and be like, I wouldn't mind seeing him being like Intercontinental Champion. I wouldn't mind seeing him, becoming a single star in that main event role, because at this point he was already surpassed. He was surpassed by some of his counterparts like Edge and Christian, who went on to already have singles runs as Intercontinental Champion. So, and I know Jeff did at the time against 2001, but it was very short, and he just didn't have that same momentum. And you need that, you need something that's going to elevate, your next generation, because I've said this, before with when AEW is created. I know we said over the years of doing All Things Elite, but some of these guys, whether it's Kenny Omega, even the Young Bucks, and then now you have older guys who's helped carrying the company like Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, you got to start building some of the younger talents that you invested time and money into, because they're the ones that's going to have to carry this company in the next, I've been saying, 2 to 3 years, but 2 to 3 years is getting very close to being here. So I really do, I really thought it was good for Hook. And, when you look at the various championships that AEW has now, with the International Championship, with the Continental Championship, with the TNT Championship, any one of those could be for the taking for Hook. And, in 2024, and people love him, and he's a great athlete. That's one thing that the first time I saw him in the ring, and I remember covering All Things Elite with you, I was like, my God, this kid is a prodigy. He gets it. He's good. Even in the first matches that he was having on AEW. And so I think, I hope 2024 elevates him to where you see him more in getting closer to that TNT Championship or that Continental Championship or that International Championship. As far as the aftermath, Hangman is trying to get late claim to that AEW Championship and, getting put in that main event spot. But I don't know, man. I love Samoa Joe, but Swerve is on another level. Since getting to that feud with Hangman, he is an amazing villain that people love. And he has a lot of support for him to get that championship. It's one of the things, I talk about how funny AEW, one of the things that's funny about AEW is fans will book a person into a championship, and then as soon as they win, they will book the person that's going to beat him for that championship. And people have been booking Swerve to beat Samoa Joe for that championship.
I will always tell people, when they think people should just put on the title, whenever they say they put on the title, look at that Hangman. Oh my God. How satisfying was it to be? It was in Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it finally happened. The disappointment of All Out, with Dark Order. All the disappointments when you're Hangman built to you being right there from when he won the title, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it meant more, right? Because you had the disappointment. So I know people in WWE, or people in wrestling, we live in the internet phase. Everything happens now, time happens now. Strike while the iron's hot. But when you build up the idea that if you want it as fans enough, we're going to immediately give it to you, it breaks your booking. You have to somewhat stick to your plans. And I do think Swerve should be champion. I think he should have a fucking long title run. But you have to do it in the time that you planned, and you have to do it right. Because no matter how much people want you to be champion, no matter how much people want, I'll use in WWE Cody to be champion or whatever, as soon as he wins the title, within 15 minutes of him winning the title, there will be someone speculating who's going to take the title from him. And I say 15 minutes, honestly 2 minutes. Right?
I'm gonna be. I've already seen it. I've seen people book. Oh, Swerve is gonna win the belt over Samoa Joe, and it could be in a 3-way. It's the same thing. And then people say, and then Hangman's gonna beat Swerve.
Yeah. So,
we haven't even got that point yet.
Yeah, we're moving.
That may be happening in November at Full Gear. They're already talking about it last year.
So it's people start speculating and moving ahead. So it's your job as the wrestling booker promoter to stick to your plan. Adjust when need be. When people they should have called the audible. No, you should never call the audible. You should always stick to your plan. And why never? I mean, 99 out of 100 times you shouldn't call the audible. Does it come up every now and then where, hey, you know what? I didn't know this was going to get this hot. Let's call the audible. I guess. But in general, you should stick to your plans. They stuck to their first 4 champions in AEW, and their first 4 champions in AEW were amazing, right? Their first 4 champions were awesome in AEW. And they stuck to it. And it's just like, after that first 4, when the people got hurt and things like that, they never really got to get back to their storytelling. So I'm like, man, stick to your plans because your plans tend to be fucking awesome. So, and then this is Floyd from ATE. If you, Tony Khan, ever listen to the show, just keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing right now, awesome. Every week, focusing on wrestling, focusing, the world title is the most important thing in your company. That's how it always should be. If you want to tell stories, you have all the other time in the show to tell your stories and to have your devil and all that stuff. But the world title picture should stay pure. That's what I think. But, whatever. Swerve, Hangman, I still think one of them should beat each other out. I think Samoa Joe, amazing wrestler, and he can do anything. But I think his strength is one-on-one matches. And I think his title defense at Revolution should be a one-on-one match. What do you think? Are you for the triple threat, or do you think it should be one-on-one?
I'm not really a fan of multi-man matches. It's just not my thing. I like elimination matches, but where anybody can get pinned has just never been my thing. I would shy away from it, but the story that they've been telling is kind of unique in a way where it's like they're still kind of trying to maintain this Hangman and Swerve thing, but Swerve's his goal is to get to the title, but so is Hangman's. So I can see it collide where it can make sense. I think it could be fun. I think it could be fun with the 3 of them involved.
But my idea, I've always said a 3-way match, a 3-way fatal 4-way should be a match. You should only use those in title matches when the title's vacant, right? First person get appearance wins the title because the title's vacant. But I am never for a champion losing this title without getting pinned. Just not for it. I hate it. I think if you're going to do 3-man matches or 4-man matches and the title's on the line, it should be an elimination match. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But that's how it's just like when you talk about sports-based competition, how do you lose a title without losing? In what sport can you do that?
I mean, none. I can't think of anything. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the things I've seen, like darts. I'm thinking, is there a game? Is there a pool game? I can't think of anything where you don't have to take a pit, where you don't lose.
Yeah. Only thing I can think of is college football because Florida State didn't win the national title without,
The boy, you better stop being this on a random tangent about that.
Losing a game. No, I was thinking real hard. Now, I had forgot all about that one, but that's literally, every sport, to win the championship, you got to beat someone, you got to lose, So I don't like that idea that you can be in a triple threat match and be the champion and, not lose. That's weird. So I think if me, I would get rid of them in general. If it's my wrestling world, and if there was a title match with more than 2 people, it would be an elimination match. So even if Hangman and Swerve teamed up and took out Samoa Joe first, right, and Samoa Joe got screwed, it's still, what I mean? It's still, he still lost. So, but yeah, that was Dynamite. Quick preview of what's going to happen. AEW Dynamite draws best 18 to 49 ratings since Grand Slam. It looks like they had 891,000 total viewers, up 12% from last week, and a .33. And yeah, .33 reading. That's up 14% from last week's .29. It's the best number since Grand Slam. Joe retained his world title against Hook. It looks like Hook's a draw. Hook. No. I just think the idea. If the ratings are going up, I think it's because they are going back to wrestling. I think that's what their original audience wanted when they were doing .3s and higher every week. was what the original audience wanted, and then they're kind of getting back to that soul. So I think some people that might have checked out might be checking back in, and of course the Young Bucks came back. I mean, I know you don't like the Young Bucks, but the AEW fan base likes the Young Bucks.
No comment.
No comment. No comment. So that's it for that. What was... I had the notes from...
You know, I was going to say this. This is a good time, though, like, to try to do what you can to, you know, numbers are weird. And one of the things, like, we talk about, I'm not, when I say we, not Floyd and I, the online community talks a lot about ratings. And I want to say just really quickly, because I'm sure I've said this before. Like, I actually just read a Nielsen report about viewership. And we're at a time where, like, actual television viewership is at a low. I'm talking about, I think, according to the Nielsen viewership report, like, actual cable viewership represents, like, 30% of entertainment viewership. The other 70% is online viewers, like, online watching, whether it's YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, whatever. Like, streaming services are dominating the market now, where people are getting rich from. So people are like, when people say AEW is dying, W is dying, nobody's watching. Like, you really don't know, because traditional cable is becoming obsolete. More and more people are moving to streaming services or online services.
Or just flat out stealing it, just going to a streaming site.
Yes. Those are heavily prevalent. I see them all the time in Facebook groups. Hey, do you have a site where I can watch it? Yeah, go to www. Whatever. Like,
yeah, because I can tell you the site, but I ain't no snitch.
So, it's really a thing. So, like, you know, everybody's like, man, they're only doing 800. They're only doing 900,000. Like, and I'm pretty sure I said 900,000 may be the new 2 million. 1.4 million may be the new 3 million. Like. And the only thing that matters, and it's true, and I'm sure Meltzer or someone said this, the only thing that matters really is what the networks think and what they're paying for. Because what they're paying for is going to dictate what is successful, what is not successful, because we cannot just rely on traditional numbers anymore. But I will say this is a good time to build up, because after Christmas, everybody's broke. No one's trying to go anywhere. They're sitting at home watching television or something.
Yep. Well, the quick preview of Rampage, we ended up these matches: Darby Allin versus Jeff Hardy, advertised. Heard it was a banger. Chris Jericho versus Matt Sydal. This is the first time they wrestled in 13 years since a WWE house show where Evan Bourne actually beat Chris Jericho. Chris Statlander versus Queen Aminata, and Penta El Zero Miedo versus Anthony Henry. That's your matches for Rampage. And for Collision, what we have announced so far is Edge Open Challenge. We got Eddie Kingston and Ortiz versus Bryan Danielson and Claudio. Mox returns, and Daniel Garcia versus Buddy Matthews. And that's our AEW coverage for the week. And now, so if you're done with the AEW, you got your AEW news, this is where you jump off. But if you want to hear about my friend's experience going to Japan, New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom, all the wrestling and stuff that he experienced, that's what's about to happen right now. Again, thank you for listening if you're jumping off now, but I hope you stay on and listen to this. So, JR, let's talk about Japan. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give your Japan experience, sir?
I give it a solid 9, and the only reason I don't give it a 10 is coming from America to Japan, the travel, it can be very exhausting. From California to Tokyo, nonstop is a 12-hour flight. It's a long time to be in the plane. And then, like, as I mentioned, the time, the 17 hours ahead for where I live on the west coast of the United States of America in California, then that's not including getting to the airport, going through TSA, waiting for your flight, hoping there's no delays, then getting onto your plane, getting off the plane, going through immigrations and customs in another country, getting your luggage, and then trying to get to your hotel. I think all in total, if I do the math correctly in my head, by the time I got to the airport, we're looking probably a total of 18 to 19 hours of travel time from the time I got to the airport, which I actually stayed right next to the airport the night before to ensure there was no issues with traffic getting to the airport. The night before, I got up, getting to the airport, doing all that, and then getting to my hotel. And then just the time difference. For the first 5 days, I was getting up at 4 a.m. every day, and I could not sleep. And Japan is a country, or Tokyo, I should say. I don't want to put the whole country on this, but Tokyo really does not get up before 10 a.m. It's very difficult to find places that will be open before 10 a.m., especially if you're looking for something to eat. They really don't do breakfast. They don't do, as we would have in America or even in Europe. They don't do eggs and some sort of meats and bread. Typically, their breakfast is a version of an egg that's done in different ways than we're probably used to, and then fish, soup, and rice typically. But they don't really do breakfast, though. It was hard to find a breakfast place. Typically, what I did was go to 7-Eleven and get, as they call them, egg sandos and a fruit sando, and I would eat that with an apple and a sugar-free Monster every day for breakfast. So that was, I know you kind of started what I rated. I don't know if you had any other questions you want me to just ramble on.
No, that was, that ratings, that rating thing was to get you started, to have kind of a starting point. Let's see. So you talked about the sandwiches. 7-Eleven, that was a big topic of discussion far as it. So what type of food did you have at 7-Eleven?
So there's 3 main stores, like convenience stores, that are very integral to Tokyo. 7-Eleven, Lawson's, and Family Mart. And there is a 7-Eleven. You can find them probably on every other block. There was one block where I would get the train, and right next to the steps to get the train was a Lawson's, and literally right across the street was another Lawson's. And then down the street was a Family Mart, and then on the other side was a 7-Eleven. They're just everywhere. And when I tell you, like, they come in clutch, they come in clutch. The first thing is you need money. So a lot of places, credit cards fine, but a lot of places, especially if you're shopping like on street markets and stuff like that, you need cash. You have to have cash, or in Tokyo, it's yen. So 7-Eleven has, I think, the best ATM conversion that I've seen going international, where you can get it. I don't feel like they charge an outrageous amount to convert money. And when I say convert money, I mean you're having a U.S. bank and you're needing to get money out. So the transaction rate and conversion rate, I don't think was that bad. Let me also add real quick on a tangent. Right now, the U.S. dollar is extremely strong against the yen. So currently, last I checked, $1 US is equivalent to 145 yen. And to kind of tell you also about affordability, why 7-Eleven, those places are important, are great, is when you need like bottles of water, or for me, like I like energy drinks, or you want snacks, they're super affordable. Number one, a sugar-free Monster, I drink one every day. In the States, I'm probably paying $2.50 to $3 for one. In Japan, there was 215 yen. That's less than $2. It's like, I don't even think it's I'm off the top of my head, I don't even think it's $1.50. A sandwich, an egg sando, fruit sando, or any type of sandwich is anywhere from $2.65 to $300, which is basically in between $1.25 to $3. Snacks between 70 cents to $1.50. I mean, extremely affordable when you need something, especially if you're on the go and you need something quick, or you're in your hotel room and you want a snack. They come in very handy. Even if if you find like a supermarket, there was one next to our hotel room, or a grocery store, they're also very, extremely affordable as well. And the other thing about those places, at the grocery store we went to at 5 o'clock. The meals they made, and they make fresh meals like daily, whether it's sushi, whether it's like a rice bowl, a noodle bowl, whatever, they put them on sale for like 30 to 50% off because they want it gone. So when they have it there, like by the Best Buy day, like if you want something for dinner, you go there, you can find, you can get like a sushi box that for $5, and it's good. Like it's good quality, what they're serving. Same thing with like rice bowls and noodle bowls.
Yeah, and that sounds amazing, and it sounds really, really cheap. How'd you get around?
So Japan has probably the best transit system probably in all of the entire world. They have a Tokyo Metro line. They have the JRL, and I'm going to mess this up, but it's called like the Oedo line. Those are the three lines that kind of go through Tokyo. And there's also like private lines if you ever try to use if you try and get like a bullet train, there's private lines for that as well. But JRL also has bullet trains. You ever try and go from city to city. And all you do is you can either download the app, what's called the Suica card. It's like SUICA, or you can even just go if you have like Apple Wallet. I'm not sure if it's in Google and like if you have Android, if it's an Android wallet, but you can actually just put the card that you're trying to add to your wallet, and then you just put in the amount that you need. Having the app, I found out, is better because I went to Saitama, which is a different city, for an event, and on that particular line, you can get reserved seats, which reserve is a lot better. It was like 500 yen, which is like less than $4, where you have a reserved seat and you don't have to worry about messing with you. When I say messing with you, you don't have to worry about like being anybody's space. Because one thing, sometimes you get on trains, there could be a lot of space and they could be zero space, especially if it's like when people are trying to get to work or coming from work. I mean, those trains could be packed. Reserved seating, you have your own seat, and you don't have to worry about anybody in your bubble. And so when you have the app on your phone, the actual app, you can like pre-order, hey, I have a reserved seat to go from here to here. So that makes it a lot easier. And in fact, the cards itself, they're actually trying to get away from giving out cards. They only give them out to foreigners because they want people to utilize it on the phone. And it's all you do is on your phone. They have like a scanner. You just put your phone onto it, and it tells you, okay, it scans you in through the doors. And then when you leave the train station, you scan out, and then it tells you how much your fare was. But it is, amazing. And the other thing, when they tell you that train is going to be there at 11:35, that train's going to be there at 11:35. It's not going to be there a minute early. It's not going to be there a minute late. It will be there on the dot like clockwork. Unless there's some sort of crazy delay, it will never not miss their times. There was not a single time that I went to get a train, and when it said it was going to be at the time, it never missed that time.
That's great, because when I was in London, they were like never at the time that was supposed to be. It was always at least a few minutes late, sometimes 30 minutes an hour. Trains went off the tracks, all that kind of stuff. Not saying that's a bad thing about London. It was just a fact of that's exactly what happened. Okay. Got to talk about the main things. The events that you did. I know you did Disney, you did some wrestling. Start with whichever one you want to. Let's start with the non-wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
How was Disney?
I'll get to one of the things I did. So the first thing was we started going sightseeing. So we hit up Japan, Tokyo itself. Basically, it's like it's so condensed and population dense, but there's so many like neighborhoods and areas and communities that you want to go to. So you have Tokyo, and then you have areas like Shinjuku, Akasaka, Asakusa, Ueno, Harajuku, Shibuya. Like in each of those areas, you can spend a day in, because all of a sudden you go there for something and you see a street, you're like, what's down there? And you follow down that street, and then all of a sudden it's like a complete, like another district that you can see of things, to places to shop or eat. The first place we went to Akasaka, did some sightseeing in that area. It's great for shopping. The next day, which was Saturday, I met up with a friend and we went to Shibuya, and he took us around that area, and that's where they have like the crazy like crossing where also like all like the walk lights come on, and it just seems like masses converge all over. If you haven't seen it, like you can just like Google whatever Shibuya crossing and just see like just how hundreds of people just go at one time into that area. We also saw the Tokyo Tower, which was really, when I saw the Eiffel Tower, so seeing the Tokyo Tower, which was kind of similar, was neat. And just really getting a chance for me, and Floyd knows, is like I diet really pretty hardcore on a consistent basis. The only time I ever deviate off my diet, which is pretty much like egg whites and chicken breasts and salads, is when I go on trips. So for me, going to another country and trying their different cuisines is like a big thing for me. So getting a chance to have sushi and ramen and I'm not gonna say it's right. It's called okonomiyaki. I already messed it up. Basically, it's like a version of like a noodle pancake with eggs. That's is just very unique and different. That I really enjoyed having their cuisine. The first event I went to, which was on New Year's Eve, was Saitama and Ryzen FC, which was essentially the grandson of Pride FC, which was at one time the biggest MMA company in the world, bigger than UFC. They host a New Year's Eve event, and I've always been told about how big these New Year's Eve events are. So one of my goals was to go to it. Went to Saitama and just seeing, it's a good sized arena. I think they had over 23,000 people there for the show, and I got a chance to sit with the people who came from other countries. I sat next to a couple from New Zealand who had been in Japan for a while. It was a great experience. If you're like, Floyd knows, like I'm always like, sometimes when I get to an event, like I got to snack, I got to have something to eat. Concession prices at all events were extremely affordable. I always compare it to liquor. So like, you go to an event in the States, a beer is like anywhere from like $15 to $20. In Japan, a beer was $5. Like that's how affordable, things are in Japan, even the concessions at arenas. The leaving Saitama, came back on New Year's Day. New Year's Day in that time in Japan is a very spiritual time with family, and also paying your respects to the different temples that individuals may be involved with. And around our area that we're staying in, there was a few temples. It's for Shintoism, I believe. And we were able to go and to be around individuals who were there, and we wanted to kind of embrace the culture and really just kind of take in their experiences. And there was a lot of people who were there and paying their respects by giving offerings of different varieties to the temple. There was food, there was song and dance, there was music at one of them that we went to, and it was a really cool experience because it's completely different than what we are used to in America, and seeing the Times Square ball drop on New Year's Eve. In fact, when I got to my hotel in Saitama on New Year's Eve, I tried to find one of the local stations, and what they were doing for like the last 10 or 15 minutes was showing the different temples around Japan. And when it was time for, the 10, 9, 8 countdown for New Year's Day, it was actually one of the temples, they had this massive, it looked like a battering ram that the individuals who were part of that particular temple used to strike a bell to signal the new year. And it was just a really, really cool experience to be able to be a part of that. Did go to Tokyo Disney. I forgot one thing. I'm not a fan of massive crowds and massive lines. There was a lot of people who were there on holiday because during that time, that spiritual time, which is essentially around from New Year's Eve to January 3rd, many places are closed down, either for all 4 days, could be 2 days, could be 3 days. So on January 2nd, there was a lot of people who came to Tokyo Disney because of the holiday break. And it's a lot smaller than Disneyland in California. Obviously, it was way smaller than Disney World in Orlando, Florida. But it was, cool to experience because seeing what they had compared to what I experienced when I went to Disneyland in California, trying, different foods. Like we had different pastries, like a melon bread that they had and a puff pastry they had, some even different drinks that they had. It was a really cool experience. And, my wife liked it. It was cold. It fortunately kind of started raining on us, but it was cool seeing the parades and stuff. Going into the day after that, before Wrestle Kingdom, we went to a different area to look around and see what that place had to offer. And that's one of the things I say. I always tell people, especially when you go to other countries, and I tell Floyd this all the time, like, I know people travel for events, but really try to, like, carve out, if you're already paying the airfare and you're already going to be there, take, like, 2 or 3 days to get extra time at a hotel to just, like, try to go around and see what the local culture is and the different food offerings they have and see the sites because, I don't know, for me, it is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience being in certain places at certain times.
Okay. Yeah, I've talked about it last week going to on the show going to Japan, and like everything you've told me about it makes me want to experience it. I'm like I always said, it was like the UK was like, it's like everybody speaks English, but it's so not America. In every other way, it's not America. So it was always interesting to me going there. So, all right, before we get into the full wrestling events, talk about your time with one of my favorite people I've ever met, Miss Issa.
So on New Year's Day, Issa, who was in Japan, Issa is an amazing photographer of professional wrestling. I think some of the work she's done taking photos is tremendous. And
Yeah, she's on. She's like she's had stuff published in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. If you want to follow her on Twitter, it's at Asita Marie. It's ISSITAMARIE. She posts like pictures all the time. She's always being published. She's amazing. So just throwing that out there about my friend. She's just one of those people. If you ever met her, I don't know many people that have actually met her and spent time around her that don't like her. Anybody that I've never met that said, "Oh, I don't like her," it's generally like jealousy because she does go all the way around the world and sees a shit ton of wrestling.
So, when I'm kind of a loner in general. Like to me, Floyd is a miracle in itself because I don't like to talk to people. I like to go up to people. I'm a very big introvert. It's hard for me to get to know individuals. And I knew Issa through Floyd and one of me and Floyd's friends, Tiffany. And, we kind of talked briefly through social media about the trip because I knew Issa, she had spent time in Japan and loves Japan and Japanese wrestling. And I knew she was going to be there. And for me, like I said, I'm a loner, but my wife and my mother who was with us, they love meeting people. They love meeting new people and they love talking with different individuals. Hell, it was actually funny on the flight. My mother was sitting in front of me, was sitting in front of my wife and I, and she was sitting next to this individual who was from Japan. And I think half the flight she was talking to this random stranger that she was never going to talk to again because my mom is just a natural talkative person. So when Issa was there, I messaged her before. I said, if you're going to be there, I would love to try to, to meet up with you, but, to have a meal with my family. I would love for them to meet you as well. I think especially because at times I'm a lot as who I am as a person. And I think sometimes my family needs a break from me. And I always love introducing my wife to other people who are in wrestling, especially female wrestling fans, because I feel like it's such a small population of female wrestling fans that's kind of, when the time comes, if it comes up again, and my wife goes to an event, and she may happen to, hey, there's Issa, I know her, that she can spend time with her again. And, it's one of the things where I always want my family to feel comfortable around people, and my wife to feel, especially my wife who goes to events with me. And so, we sat down and we went to this place that was Japanese cuisine with a little Western twist. It was kind of a unique place that we went to that my friend who lives in Japan forwarded to me for New Year's Day. I was able to get a reservation. And, man, I swear, Issa was like a long-lost relative. I mean, we sat down and, we must have spent, I don't know if it was like, I think 3 or 4 hours. The restaurant, essentially, they were closing down. They had to tell us to leave. That's how long we were at the restaurant for. They were just like, dude, like, we're done. Like, can you pay your bill and leave? Because we, especially, Issa, my mom, and my wife, like, they talked and it's like I said, the only way I can explain it was like they were long-lost relatives. She was like family instantly. It was, I enjoyed my time with her and my mother, adored Issa, and my wife loves Issa, in just that one dinner session, because it's just the type of person she is. She's such a tremendous individual, and I always have a special place in my heart for people that treat my family with kindness. They mean my family's happiness and means more to me than my own. So it meant a lot that she took time out of her busy day, because she had a very busy schedule. I think she did like 9 shows in 6 days. That's how busy her schedule was between attending and shooting. So the fact that she took time out of her day to come and spend time with my family was, I would never forget that. Like I said, she has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, Issa's dope. I could go on and on about her awesomeness. She's actually like one of the first episodes of All Things Elite is me talking to Issa about wrestling. She was the Kenny Omega fan. She followed around, did a Kenny Omega World Tour, a couple legs on it. I think that's when she got into photography. I think that's what led her into photography. Yeah, it's funny. First, All Out, I was in front row, I believe, and Issa, Kenny Omega versus Pac. Basically, Issa was sitting between me and Tiffany. So yeah, it was just one of our experiences. Yeah, just dope individuals. So, all right. Now we got to get to it. Talk about the WrestleGraps. Talk about the wrestling shows.
So because I was spending time traveling and I wanted to, make sure I was available for my wife, I only did 2 shows. During that time, though, if you want to go to Japan just for wrestling, DDT, Noah, All Japan, Stardom, Tokyo Joshi Pro, obviously New Japan. I feel like I'm missing one more. But, those 6 companies, I think combined between like New Year's Eve to January, I think even like January 7th, I think that's 8 days. They must have been at least a dozen shows they put on. There is a lot of wrestling that you can go to. You have to be careful mapping things out because Japan, it's not big, but it does take time to get from certain places to certain places because, one could be in Yokohama, one could be in Saitama, one could be in Tokyo, one could be in a different city. Like, it can be spread out. So it can take an hour and a half to get from one place to another, but it is doable because the public transit, it's very good. So, I only did 2 shows. I did the Stardom show before Wrestle Kingdom. It was held at the Tokyo Dome City Hall, which is Tokyo Dome. It's actually called Tokyo Dome is a dome in Tokyo Dome City. Like Tokyo Dome City is a place that has restaurants, a hotel. It's like an amusement park. I saw a Floyd, a Ferris wheel. Like it is. They had restaurants there. They at the same time they had I believe it was an Ultraman convention. Like it is a big area where a lot of things happen at once. And so I got there, got my tickets. The Tokyo Dome City Hall was a great venue. It was small and intimate, and I was sitting like in the upper level, or technically be lower level, but I felt like I was right on top of the action. was a great spot, and got a chance to see, you know, the Stardom women. And one person I want to point out, because they're signed to AEW, Megan Bayne is over in Japan. They loved her. They cheered for her. She has a great ring presence. She has a great entrance. Like, she is somebody that AEW, like, if you bring them back, you should take full advantage and just like push her to the moon, because she has that it factor. It was cool to experience her. I got a chance to, I think I'm gonna mess up her name. Got a chance to see Tekla, who I think is, from the match I've seen, I think is great. I actually heard her contract's up as well. Got a chance to see Julia, whose contract is also coming up. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. The main event was, Floyd helped me out. I know it was Iwatani versus, why does it slip my mind?
Mayu versus, who was it? Julia? No, it wasn't Julia.
No.
It wasn't Julia. I know it wasn't.
It was like...
I know you and James both talked about it at some point, but I honestly don't remember who the match was.
The match that it was, that they had put on, though, as the main event, as I would... The entire show was a bunch of multi-women tag matches. I think, if I'm not off the top of my head, I'm very, very confident that all of them was multi-women matches. Did
you cut
it
out?
Was serious.
Oh, okay. No.
They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. They were all tag team matches. The main event was the only singles match. It was for the IWGP Women's Title match. It was Suri versus Mayu Iwatani. That was the main event. They went almost 20 minutes. It was a phenomenal match. I mean, those women tore it down. I mean, I feel like the show to me felt like it was to feature the Women of Stardom before Wrestle Kingdom, and also because Wrestle Kingdom didn't have women matches, to have the IWGP Women's title be defended on the same day. And that was the main attraction, was that you got a chance to see the Women of Stardom, but that was a featured match. And I mean, and they wrestled, and I'll say this, they deserve to be in the Tokyo Dome, those women, because they really did bring it, and they went out there, and it didn't matter if there was, you know, 200 people in the crowd or 30,000 people in the crowd, because they brought it. It was a tremendous match, and it was a fun match to see between those two ladies. I think Meltzer gave it almost 5 stars. I think it was 4 3/4 stars he gave it.
That's pretty awesome. You got to see that match. You've been to a Stardom show. I've never been to a Stardom show. That might change when in Philly if I still go. And
from what I've heard, and my Japanese is terrible. It's way worse than my Spanish, which is also pretty bad. Is one of the big factions, Donna Del Mondo, that had Julia and Tekla and a few other talent, they disbanded, and it looks like that was potentially Julia's last match, as her contract's coming to an end very shortly. And then, like I said, Tekla was on her way out, which, those are two talents that I actually, when I saw Stardom, I saw a few Stardom shows about a year ago, those are two women that I was really drawn to. Starlight Kid was another woman that I saw on that card that I thought was really good as well. So it was good to see that, and a great, a good show to get kind of the day started before heading over to the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom.
So it's to steal a line from the other big black man in your life, Mark Henry. It's time for the main event. Tell us about Wrestle Kingdom. My dream.
Heading over to Wrestle Kingdom, so you see the dome, it's a big stadium. It's a baseball stadium, and it says Tokyo Dome on it. It just kind of I stared at it, and I was like, man, I'm really here. I'm really here to see this show, Wrestle Kingdom. The first thing I will say, though, is if you go, for some reason, I don't know if it's this Wrestle Kingdom or all Wrestle Kingdoms, they don't do merchandise inside the venue. There's one stand, it's outside, and that line makes an AEW merch line look like a walk in the park. That line was long, it was massive, and I was like, I am not getting that line. Thank God I went to the New Japan store the day before because it was ridiculous how long that line was. Got my tickets, and one of the unfortunate things is not knowing Japanese is I was lost. I was getting into I got into the building, and I got into the area, and I knew I was sitting on the floor, and I got to the floor. Unfortunately, because by the time I got done with Stardom, I got there in the middle of the Rambo, and I'm like just trying, like I'm showing people who like my ticket, like, hey, I don't know where. They're like, oh, go there, and I'm like, okay, walk over there, and I'm like, all right, I don't know where to go now. So everybody else, go there. Finally, almost towards the end of the Rambo, I find my seat, and it was the only time I ever had the same feeling was when I went to Madison Square Garden for the first time to see an event, and just looking up at the ceiling and just like seeing the crowd and everybody, and I was like, man, like this is the Tokyo Dome, this is Wrestle Kingdom, this is what 5 years I've dreamed about wanting to come here, and it's here, and it was good to be there. They have a great entrance stage. Having that long entrance walk, is reminiscent of WrestleMania, and really trying to showcase everybody. And you knew when you're there it was a big event. It's a reason why it's called Wrestle Kingdom, because it is the biggest event in Japan for them. I think, potentially for all of Japanese wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom is the biggest event, period, because of where it's located and the amount of people that go. From bell to bell, I mean, everybody was in their seats and they were cheering. Excuse me. Every talent brought it, from the opening IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag match to the main event with Naito and Sonata. They all understood the assignment. They understood how big the day was, and it was nonstop. From match to match. For me, my favorite match on the show was Tama Tonga versus Shingo Takagi. I thought they had an extremely barn burner. It was a very fun match. I enjoyed it tremendously. I love Tama. Tama is one of the reasons why I still watch New Japan, because I loved him and his brother and as Girls of Destiny. That was part of like the last four matches. The third to last match was the new IWGP Global title with Finlay and Ospreay and Moxley. Moxley had a cool entrance that was Batman inspired, and Ospreay had
Red
a really
Hood,
cool,
baby. Nothing like Red Hood. The people of AEW love Batman. I just wanted to throw that out there.
The Ospreay's Assassin's Creed entrance got a huge pop. No one likes Dave Finlay. No, I mean, nobody wanted that dude to win. It was, and the aftermath with Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, being there and mixing it up. Like the crowd really enjoyed it, was into it. The co-main was Danielson and Okada, and I mean, what can you say? I mean, two of the best to ever do it. Just had a continuation of, and they really told the story of, it was a revenge match. Okada wanting revenge for his loss, and Danielson wanting revenge for for his broken arm and his eye, and that was a good match. I mean, it was a great match, not just a good match. It was a lot of fun seeing that. The one of the things, the Japanese crowd, they're very respectful. So when I say they're into it, it's not the same as like going to an AEW or WWE event. Like they would go, the way they would clap, but the way they would chant, it would just be like Okada, Naito. That would be it. Like they would say that, and that was their way of like getting into it. Like it seems kind of like meager compared to like, in the States, but I mean, they were into it. They were there for a reason. The one I want to get to this point because this is very important. I want to say this because, I knew Naito was big. I knew Okada was big, and I knew Tanahashi was big in Japan. I don't think people realize until you go to Japan how big Naito is, because his pop when he came out and the amount of people wearing LIJ merch was second to none. I mean, I don't think I've been to any show in America where it felt like one talent had almost every person in the arena like that much behind him. The comparison I have, it can't even be wrestling. It felt like I was at a home game of a sports team and everybody there was rooting for that home team, because that's how many people were cheering for Naito and were wearing LIJ merch. By far the biggest applause, the biggest chant, the biggest whatever of the night was Naito. He is a star in Japan. When people say like, I don't know if everybody said about him coming to America, working in America, he don't need to come to America because that dude is over. Like, I'm talking about like when Cena was over in 2005 and and Omega in 2019, I mean, bigger than that. It was so big how he was over. People love that man in Japan.
Dude, so you got to be there for the roll call, the one they've been waiting for the year. What'd you think?
Let me tell you, when Evil came out and attacked Naito from behind, I would say this: I did not think that dude was going to leave that building alive, because he infuriated that crowd that they were not going to get Naito's moment. Like it was insane. That Evil got, and it was funny because that day I made a comment. Evil had won his match, and I said, I think I'm the only person in the Tokyo Dome and probably all of Japan that actually kind of likes Evil. And after that, I was like, oh man, I know for a fact I'm the only person that likes her, because that dude was going to be dead to rights in the Tokyo Dome if it wasn't for Sonata coming in and making the save. And it was, that moment was, there's very few times when you go to events, one of the reasons why I love to travel, but one of the reasons why I always like going to events is you typically have a moment that once in a lifetime moment. And that's the once in a lifetime moment is having Naito do that roll call, because how much it meant to that crowd for him to have that experience in that moment was really it was a memorable moment that I got a chance to see that I would never forget. And when he left, it was kind of like, and leaving the arena, and I was like, man, experiencing that was truly a blessing. People talk about, blessings or hard work, and Floyd knows me, and I said, I'm an educator. I work to get my college degrees and get an opportunity to have a job as a full-time educator. And I know it's not going to sound like it because, but that's me coming from my background. Sometimes my as I always say, my Latino heat comes out of me, but I did put the work in, but man, I've also been truly blessed to be in a position to be able to do what I do for a living that provides me the opportunities to experience these once in a lifetime moments. And if you are a wrestling fan, and especially if you love Japanese food, and I would definitely encourage anybody to go during that time. Like I said, it starts basically, and I said December 31st, New Year's Eve. I take that back. It really started on December 29th with Stardom when they had their Queendom event. So, I mean, we're talking about a full 10 days of just pure wrestling that you can find. I think the only day there wasn't wrestling was New Year's Day, actually.
There was no wrestling on New Year's Day. That was the only day there wasn't anything.
Yeah, that's the one day where I don't believe anybody wrestling. And I say that because that was the one day that I think Issa was free. That was the only day she was free because of the other show she was working.
All right, damn it. Well, that makes sense. Damn, that sounds like a full trip. It sounds like an amazing trip. You were there for a lot of days, so you got everything in. If you go back, is there anything that you missed out on this time that you would definitely do when you got back, or would it just be like a bunch of retread?
For me, yeah, I mean, you can go to Tokyo, the city itself, for 3 weeks and just be in Tokyo for 3 weeks and not see everything. There's a lot of little idiosyncrasies that are different. Like I'll give you an example. Restaurants in Tokyo tend to be small. I mean, there are some places we went to, if they had 20 seats, that was a lot. And it's a lot of wait time, especially when things are now more viral and someone's like, you got to go to this place because they have this amazing fluffy pancake, or go to this place because they have this amazing ramen dish. Like, you could be waiting anywhere from 1 to 3 hours to enjoy that amazing whatever somebody may go viral. So that's something you do like that. I want to eat, but I also have limits. I think my limit was, we went to this place that it was a beef cutlet that they prepared, but then you grilled on a stone in front of you yourself. I think I waited like 90 minutes for that, and then that was my limit. Like, I was like, okay, I'm never gonna do this again. I'd rather go eat anywhere else besides waiting in line. That's not my thing, is waiting in line. So those are the things like that can take up time if that's something you want to do. If you're like that diehard foodie that you want to try this amazing thing that somebody on Instagram showed you. For me, there's a few places in Tokyo that I would probably try to do that I didn't get a chance to do. I only got a chance to go to New Japan store. There's like 2 other stores I didn't get a chance to do. There were some other neighborhoods I didn't get a chance to go to, get a chance to see. It is very, like, when I say this, and I had somebody ask me about my trip and they wanted like some pointers. If you go to Japan, work on your cardio, because you need cardio and you need endurance, because it's an all-day affair. Like, you're going to be out starting at a certain time around probably 10 a.m. and you're going to want to do as much as you can as fast as you can. So endurance and cardio is very important on that. And so moving forward, I think moving on from Tokyo, I have a friend that lives by the beach. He's actually invited us to come stay with him, and I may take him up on that. I want to try to go to Osaka because I heard Osaka has a lot of good things. I know, like, off the top of my head, they have Universal Studios in Osaka. There's a few places that people recommend to go eat and different sites to see out there. I did get a chance to go to Yokohama. I really wanted to go there, but we canceled that idea to try to do more stuff in Tokyo because we're running out of time. It's just it can do in Tokyo. It's like I explained to somebody, it's like trying to go to, imagine New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, and Washington, D.C., and they're all within a 5-mile radius, and you want to do everything that all those cities have to offer. That's what it's like.
Yeah, that sounds like you would be trying to do a lot. So, but yeah, I'm glad you had a great time. I'm glad you have experience. I mean, I have, definitely not trying to make this me. I've had the pleasure of, going on a lot of wrestling trips, and, people always like, you're lucky. And I always said, I'm not lucky. I work hard. So when I see someone that is close to me, goes, work hard. I know how long you were saving. I think you were saving for at least 1.5 years, right?
When we finally made the decision, it was in March. No, I take that back. It was in February. February 2023, we made the decision, and we were like, we're going to do this. We already had some money set aside for spending, but literally for 6 months, I was paying $1,100 a month to pay off the hotel and the airfare for my wife and I. And then once I'm trying to remember, September, October came, that's when the New Japan tickets came out. And then right after that, the Stardom tickets, and then the fight tickets came right after that. That was the other thing I forgot to mention is if you go, the New Japan, and this is very important, like New Japan does a thing for foreigners where you're able to purchase your tickets through the New Japan World shop. The reason why and you have to be a member of New Japan USA to do that. The reason why that's important is because it is extremely difficult to buy tickets in Japan. Like I was looking up, for example, like the New Beginning in Osaka. Well, the way you buy tickets is you can buy them online, but you have to pick them up from like a 7-Eleven or a Lawson's in Japan. And that just seems like, well, I'm in America. How am I going to get my tickets? And how am I going to know when I get my tickets? That it's kind of a problem. Stardom and Rising was the same way. Like, it was difficult to get tickets because I was a foreigner. Fortunately, New Japan and Stardom was sold it through the New Japan Roll Shop, and Rising had opened up for that show an international way for international fans to buy tickets. But that's why for that week, like, you really need to do your investigation. I hit up everybody. I think I hit up Chris Charlton. I think I hit up Stu Fulton, who I believe covers Pancreas, and I think All Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Like
Pancreas,
whatever. To try to get information about how all this works. It was just a lot that, trying to get those tickets. Like I said, fortunately, New Japan did that, which was a huge convenience because all I had to do was bought it in America. And once I got there, I showed them here's my email that I bought the ticket, and they gave me my ticket.
That is awesome, sir. That is awesome. Great. Sounds like you had a great time. You've already talked to me out like you want to. It's like one of your favorite places after Ireland, and you can't wait to get back. So I am excited for you, and I'm looking forward to next time. Hopefully, next time when you go, I can go with you. We'll try to work that out. But yeah, that was JR's trip to Japan. Thank you for coming on. Again, Austin was in Orlando doing the Disney Universal thing. So he had a good time. We're going to talk. This is not going to become a travel podcast, but we are going to talk about Austin's trip to Orlando next week on the show. We're also going to probably talk about a few things about what he missed from this week and what he thought. He sent me a message on what he thought about the Young Bucks, but I definitely want to keep that for next week because, I didn't want to set JR off. No, just kidding. But thank you. Thank you again. This is no different than what we do every night. Honestly, tonight was just us pressing the record button. And if you like this, I would love to do more of this. I love human interest pieces, which is what this is. I love talking to people about their experiences in their lives. Just, I love AEW, and the show will always focus on AEW. That's not changed. But sometimes when we get to do this, add a little something to the show. Hopefully some of you like it. Like I said, that's why I gave you the out after the AEW stuff, so you didn't feel like I was keeping you hostage. But me and JR had a good time. JR, you got anything else you want to say before we get out of here and let people go on with their evenings or days or whatever time they were listening?
As we're recording, which I believe today is January 18th, I hope you all have, January 18th for me, I hope you guys all have a good start to your new year and your New Year's resolutions. Keep that momentum up as we get into February, which is only 13 days away. And, wish you all a happy-go-lucky weekend.
All right. All right. So that's it. That's it for the show. We don't got really any other news and notes. We'll discuss everything next week if we missed anything, but I want to leave you with this. It is January 19th here in Central Time, 18th in the West Coast. We're only 19 days into the year. People are like, oh, my New Year's resolution is outside the window. My plan for the year is always gone. No. That's not the case. It's only 19 days. Even if your first 19 days sucked and you didn't even do anything you planned to do on the first 19 days of the year, you still have this is a leap year, so it's 366 days. So you still have 347 days to get right. And if you want to get support or whatever, reach out to your friends. Shoot me a tweet. I've lost a lot of weight, but I am in a constant struggle of eating healthy, trying to maintain my weight, trying to get down to my ultimate goal weight. That's always something I struggle with. Always. I know I'm positive, but dude, another thing positive about me is positive how much I fucking love food. So it is, eating stuff you don't want to eat, working out and all that stuff. That's all tedious. I'm focusing on weight loss, but whether it's money management, getting a better job, starting school, congrats to my wife who just started college again. Whatever you decide to do to make your life better, understand a bad 19 days does not have to bleed into the other 347. Start tomorrow like it's the new year. The next day is always a fresh day to start. Right then is always a fresh day to start. Again, you ever need any support? At Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. You think I'm joking. You think, oh man, he's just saying that. There's nobody I won't talk to. You want to talk to me about wrestling? You want to talk to me about losing weight? You want to talk to me about life? Hit me up. I'm always open. My DMs are open. But if you get stupid, you will get muted or blocked. I'm just saying. This is not a 3 strikes you're out thing. It's a 1 strike you're out. So keep it PC. I am a very, very married man. Not that anybody wants me, but we try to keep it above board. So I thank you, and I will leave you how I'll always leave you. Whether it is home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite. Get well soon, Kenny.